Hi folks, welcome to another session of Masks of Nyarlathotep here. I'm John. I'll be the game master tonight. And it's been in game about 4 years since our last session. So I wanted to have everybody introduce themselves and tell us about what the character's been up to for the last few years. Laura, you want to start us off?
Sure. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm playing Margaret Merriweather. She is an alienist, and for the last 4 years she has been building a biology and chemistry lab at Storybrooke Asylum and studying a lot of archaic information at Miskatonic University.
My name is Hugh Delury. I'm playing Declan Steele, private investigator, and for the last 4 years I've moved around the country. Found myself in Red Hook, New York, just south of Brooklyn, and just sort of stuck to PI work for the most part. To know a little bit more about some of the myths of Peru and some of the more esoteric things. That's about it.
I'm Nate Elwood. I'm playing Father Cecil Sullivan, a Jesuit priest for the past 4 years. I moved back to Cleveland. I purchased a home for helping with veterans of the Great War. I've also delved more into the esoteric and occult based on what I saw in Peru.
My name is Brock Close. I'm new to the game, joining in. I'm playing Alexander Stewart. He is a doctor at Miskatonic University and a linguist, so he does a lot of translations for the university, and he's still pretty fresh, so he doesn't have a lot of damage mentally speaking yet, except for the fact that he did lose his entire family to sickness a couple years back, so he spends dedicates his time to get over the sadness in books.
I'm Tom Allman. I'm playing Mustafa Ali. He is an yes, he's an antiquarian, but he has a degree in archaeology from Miskatonic, and after the Peru kerfluffle, he came back to Arkham, and there was a professorship opened, like a visiting professorship. So he's splitting time between Egypt and Miskatonic, and he's basically the shop liaison between the university and the digs in Egypt. So he just goes over there and makes sure everybody has hotel rooms for a week, and then gets their shots, and then
And coffee.
yeah, and then comes back. So, and he also is really into baseball now. So.
Awesome.
My name's Richard McGuire, and I play a hobo named Samus. And I spent the last 4 years traveling out west and living with the Indians, learning about their culture and traditions, because, I was shocked when I went to Peru, so maybe the superstitious stuff has some basis.
All right.
Free peyote.
So where we're picking up, it is now January of 1925. And on January 3rd, you each received a telegram from your very good friend Jackson Elias. And the telegram reads, "Have information concerning Carlisle expedition. Need reliable investigative team. Meet January 15, New York." Presumably, you all choose to make your way to New York City in response to that. What I was curious about was how you guys were going there, if you tried to make contact with one another first, and also if anyone was looking into this Carlisle expedition, whatever that is.
Margaret's already in New York,
Okay.
so
So was Declan.
Yep, Declan is
I
there
would
too.
have probably given Declan a call or telegram, whatever. More convenient. It's 25, so I don't know if my house has a phone in it. But yeah, train to get there, and I would have looked into Carlisle with
Okay.
cursor.
I could walk back to New York in 3 months all around.
I don't think that's going to work.
You gotta ride the trains, hobo style.
Yeah.
You have
Ride the
money,
rails?
right? I mean, you still.
I get like $50 a year.
But I meant like from Peru. Like, did you just say
What
I
money?
don't want any of this money?
I don't remember there being any money.
That's right, no one did.
Dang. All right.
Hookers and blow.
Sure.
Yeah, he drank it away.
Sure.
Uh,
That's great.
Yeah, I would look into the expedition you talked about, see if I
Okay.
can research what that is, and then I would jump a train, pack my bags, and
Okay.
Do you know how are you connected with Meriwether
he's come in the library before.
and Jackson Elias?
Jackson Elias has come in the library and asked me for.
Yeah, he didn't necessarily have a connection to Meriwether.
Oh.
Yeah, Elias has asked me for help translating things in the past.
Okay.
Makes sense.
You have library use, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Barely.
So first thing you turn up as soon as you start looking into the Carlisle expedition is that article. I don't know if you want to share that
Sure,
with
can I
everyone.
read it out loud?
By all means.
Okay. Big Apple Dateline. Roger Carlisle, the playboy whom everybody knows or knows about, has made an ambitious plan to slip out of New York tomorrow to explore the ancient tombs of Egypt. The word has it that he'll be setting sail with his own entourage in tow. I can hear the cries of Roger's countless heartbroken cuties when they learn he's already had a female companion traveling with him. Who is this lucky girl? You can bet your mummy this reporter's on the case. No doubt the fantastically eligible bachelor will dig up someone or something equally fabulous from the Egyptian sands. And there's more. Mr. Vincent Astor and Mrs. Alva Belmont. These
can
are just
probably- yeah.
other things, yeah.
That's just garbage.
In the interest of not making
Fair enough.
Alexander read everything, Hugh, you want to take a look at that one?
Oh, sure.
I want to open it up all the way.
Oh yeah, we read this. Oh,
No,
we didn't have
you
all
read-
of that. Yeah.
You read this one. That's the second one.
I'm not reading that. Okay.
I can read. I don't mind.
Alright, Carlisle expedition leaves for England.
Increase your voice, babe.
Oh yeah. I'm probably the one he's talking about. Talking loud enough.
We just didn't want to point it out, but yes.
I just did a little tap. It's okay.
Let's see here. Roger Carlisle, perhaps Westchester's most eligible bachelor, embarked this morning for Southampton, leading an expedition bearing his own name. The dashing playboy leaves behind New York's night spots for a crossing in the British steamship Imperial Standard. Upon arrival in England, Carlisle and other members of his expedition team will head to London for a period of intensive study at London's celebrated Penhew Foundation. The Carlisle expedition will then embark for Cairo, Egypt, a month hence. Let's see if there's anything else here.
Great. So we're chasing Tony Stark through the desert.
Yeah, so he's a playboy.
Penhew
Penhew Foundation.
Foundation. That's who's funding it.
No, Carlisle is actually funding it.
Oh.
And look, a parade.
So who are they then?
I'm not sure, but he's there for a celebrated or for a period of intensive study at London's celebrated Penhew
What's
Foundation.
the date on that?
This is from 1919.
What's the?
April 5th, Saturday. I can see the back of it. Look at the back of it.
Wait, is that accurate? So has he
April
been
5th,
there
1919.
already?
So, well, that's what you're finding out. So first off, you found out he was leaving April 4th,
On the 4th.
1919.
Mm.
And he was in
okay.
England.
In England on the 5th.
That is important.
Ah, that's
So he's lost.
Nice job, Hobo.
Yeah, well,
And
he
then
reached the point,
Mustafa,
I'll
you want to
read
give me
back.
that? Read that one.
The rest is just
Carlisle departs Egypt. Cairo, July 4th. Sir Aubrey Penhew, temporary spokesman for the Carlisle expedition, indicated Thursday that the leaders are taking ship to East Africa for a well-earned rest. Sir Aubrey debunked rumors that the expedition had discovered clues to the legendary wealth of the lost mines of King Solomon.
Ooh.
We don't give a crap about money.
No, but the knowledge base.
We just
of
want to
Solomon.
scratch the eye of the face of God and then unleash it on the world. That despite the party was going on safari in respite from our sandy labors. Roger Carlisle, wealthy New York leader of the expedition, was unavailable for comment, still suffering from his recent sunstroke. Discussing that unfortunate incident, local experts declared Egypt entirely too hot for white people at this time of year, and suggested that the young American had not been well served by his democratic enthusiasm, rumored to have led him to personally weld pick and shovel. Interesting.
Okay, it's not the joint E's.
No, it is not the joint
Important
E's
visitors. Mombasa, July 31st. Leading members of an American archaeological expedition arrived here on holiday from digs in Egypt's Nile Valley. Our Undersecretary, Mr. Royston Whittington, held a welcoming dinner for them at Collingswood House, where the wit of Sir Aubrey Penhew, expedition co-leader, was much in evidence. Accompanying Sir Aubrey are the youthful financier Roger Carlisle and medical doctor Robert Hudson, as well as socialite Miss
Hypatia.
Hypatia, okay, sorry. Hypatia Masters. The party leaves inland today for Nairobi and hunting.
What was that date?
It doesn't have a date.
Yeah.
I bet
Oh,
there's
July
I bet
31st,
there's on
but
the
doesn't have
back.
the year.
Ask-
Okay.
It's all 1919.
1919, okay.
That's July. It's a lot later.
There must be some other important information on this newspaper if this is all I got.
We have our own cuttings.
There's-
On safari in Kenya, Mombasa, October 15th, I guess 1919. It's the article's partly cut off, so I'll do my best. Uplands Police representative today asked for public assistance concerning the possible disappearance of the Carlisle expedition. No word of the party has been received in nearly 2 months. The group includes wealthy New York playboy Roger Carlisle and 4 other American citizens, as well as respected Egyptologist Sir Aubrey Penhew of the United Kingdom. The expedition left Nairobi on August 3rd, maybe it's cut off, ostensibly on safari, but rumor insisted that they actually were after legendary biblical treasures. Carlisle something party reportedly intended to explore portions of the Great Rift Valley to the northwest of Nairobi.
What was the date for the Nairobi when they were there?
August
October
3rd.
15th.
October 15th?
No, they left Nairobi August 3rd.
But,
And
okay.
this is August, or this is
October
August.
15th
Alright, thank you.
is Africa,
Oh
Kenya.
my gosh, what do I have to, which part? Everything?
No, just probably the Carlisle part.
Okay, because I can read the woman to hear about the new headquarters. Okay, Mombasa, March 11th. In response to clues, Miss Erica Carlisle, sister to the American leader of the lost Carlisle expedition, arrived in port today aboard the Egyptian vessel Font of Life. Several, Kikuyu villagers, sounds good. Kikuyu villagers, reports recently have been received concerning the putative massacre of unnamed whites near the Aberdeen forest. Miss Carlisle declared her intention to find her brother, regardless of the effort needed. She brought with her the nucleus of a large expedition, detailing agents to coordinate supplies and other activities with colony representatives. Miss Carlisle and the remainder of her party depart from Nairobi tomorrow. Her companion, Miss Victoria Post, indirectly emphasized Miss Carlisle's purposefulness by recounting the rigors of the voyage.
What's the date on that?
Ugh, it's
It said March, but is it
March
Probably
11th?
2020.
It was when it was written, so March 11th was when it was written.
Okay.
Also, there's no plates in front for false teeth in case you...
May 24th, 1920. Carlisle massacre confirmed.
That's funny.
Nairobi, May 24th, the massacre of the long-missing Carlisle expedition was confirmed today by District Police Representatives Roger Carlisle. New York's frolicking playboy is counted among the dead. Authorities blame hostile Nandi tribesmen for the shocking murders. Remains of at least 24 expedition members and bearers are thought found in a remote region of the Aberdare Forest. Erica Carlisle, Roger Carlisle's sister and apparent heiress to the Carlisle family fortune, led a dangerous search for her brother and his party. She credited Kikyu tribesmen for the discovery, though police actually found the site. Among other expedition members believed lost are Sir Aubrey Penhew, a noted Egyptologist, New York socialite, Hypatia, thank you, Masters, and Dr. Robert Houston. Many bearers are also reported dead.
Yeah, I'm not the one to recap next.
Another advertisement for false teeth.
Oh, damn, I'm telling you, those things are getting better and better.
Murderers hanged. Nairobi, June 19th. 5 African tribesmen convicted. Ringleaders of the vicious Carlisle expedition massacre were executed this morning after a short, expertly conducted trial. To the end, these tribesmen steadfastly refused to reveal why they had slaughtered Mr. Carlisle and his companions. Mr. Harvis, acting for the colony, cleverly implied throughout the trial that the massacre was racial in motivation and that the fair-skinned victims were subject to the most savage treatment, preventing all but the most preliminary identification of the remains. Miss Erica Carlisle, defeated in her efforts to rescue her brother, left several weeks ago, but is surely comforted now by the triumph of justice.
Plus all the money.
And reverse racism.
Yes. Yeah.
100 years ago, folks. 100
All
years
right,
ago.
so there were
It's
a
always
whole
been
bunch
there.
of names
12
that were
months ago,
tossed around
everybody.
there.
Yes.
Let me recap those for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So the first is Roger Carlisle. He was a early 20s playboy who was active in New York City, came from a family with serious money, and he was the person who was financing the expedition. The name that kept coming up there was Sir Aubrey Penhew, Baronet of Pevensey. He is a renowned Egyptologist out of London.
I never heard of it.
You almost certainly have.
Yeah, I met him before.
Dr. Robert Houston was a physician who was accompanying the expedition rather. Miss Hypatia, Hypatia Masters, was another dilettante in New York City who was going along for the ride. And one other name that probably didn't come up too often was Jack Brady, who is a companion, let's say,
Okay.
to Mr. Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
So trophy wife and real lover.
Absolutely. When you're rich, you can get away with that stuff.
Any questions on any of that? So the basic gist of it
What
was
was Hypatia's last name?
Masters.
Masters.
So the basic gist of it was Carlisle led this expedition to Egypt. They stopped in London to pick up Sir Penhew. From Egypt, they said it's too hot here, so they went to Nairobi. In Nairobi, they all died, right? His sister Erica went to Nairobi to look for him, didn't find anything, but the white folk there killed a lot of black people, saying they the ones that done it,
Yeah.
right? Looks like an open and shut case. Campaign over. You guys good?
Yep, yeah.
All right.
Let's go back to New York. I need to work
Research
on
the
my
Great
lab.
Rift.
The Great Rift?
Yeah.
Sure.
That was something that they mentioned in one of the articles that they were going to. They left Nairobi to the Great Rift
Mm-hmm.
Forest. I just want to go to the library and see if I can find
Sure.
anything about it before
Well,
we go.
let me Google that to find out what it is.
Thanks a lot.
I can make it up if it's not perfect.
No, it is a real thing. It is a series of contiguous geographic trenches approximately 6,000 kilometers in length that runs from Bekaa Valley in Lebanon in Asia to Mozambique in southeastern Africa.
Trenches. Interesting.
Cool.
It's pretty sweet. Watched a lot of documentaries on it.
It's
And
like
then-
the Grand Canyon almost.
And then
it's like way
the
bigger.
Kikua village, the tribe. Is there any information on
Oh,
that in
yeah,
the
that's-
libraries?
Yeah, you can find
Yeah.
some
I mean,
anecdotal
it's a canon.
information about
Yeah.
them.
In the Aberdeen Forest, same
Significant.
thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool shit that goes on there.
Also,
Hey.
World
world
map.
map of 1920. For some reason, this might become relevant. Maybe not. We'll see. And you've already got the calendar
Yes.
for 1925. You might want to note on January 3rd there that you all received that telegram from your friend Jackson. And
Jackson.
you want to
Spooky
recap
Elias.
what you guys know about your good friend Jackson?
Yeah.
Call
I
him
read
spooky. Should I read it in the 1920s radio voice? Or
Probably not.
already. No, that would be painful.
It would be. I would throw this brass die at him.
You guys are
See, I
no
got
fun.
I mean, I like your accent. You do it well, but I'm not ready for this.
You remember Jackson Elias as an African American man of medium height and build. He has a feisty, friendly air about him. As an orphan in Stratford, Connecticut, he learned to make his own way early in life. He has no living relatives and no permanent address. Well, how does he get mail if he doesn't have no? Anyway, you like him and value him. I don't know if we like him, right? He
You know
gives
what?
us
Don't give him anything to read because he's always gonna add us 14
Editorialize?
cents. Yeah.
You like him and you value his friendship, even though months and sometimes years separate one meeting from the next. You'd be upset and probably crave vengeance if anything happened to your friend.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right.
No, he's kind of like the drunk uncle that makes you pick him up at the
He's
bar,
never been drunk.
and you go. I said like the drunk.
I'm pretty sure you were all drunk when you got back to Lima.
Probably. Yeah, after that. Yeah, that's
Don't-
when we bonded the most.
The world is a better place for having Jackson Elias in it. Elias speaks several languages fluently and is constantly traveling. He is social, enjoys an occasional drink, smokes a pipe, a tough, stable, punctual man. Elias is unafraid of brawls or officials.
Oh, I didn't picture that. Okay.
He is mostly self-educated. Once a skeptic, Elias began to question his stance after the events he witnessed in the mountains of Peru. Although in most cases he has failed to find proof of supernatural powers, magic, or dark gods,
Aw.
his well-researched works always seem to reflect first-hand experience. Possibly his greatest flaw is that he's secretive and never discusses a project until he has a final draft in hand. His writings characterize and analyze death cults. His best-known book is Sons of Death, exposing modern-day thuggy cults in India. All of his books illustrate how cults manipulate the fears of their followers. Insanity and feelings of inadequacy characterize death cultists, feelings for which they compensate by slaughtering innocents to make themselves feel powerful or chosen. Cults draw the weak-minded through cult leaders are usually clever and manipulative. When fear of a cult stops, the cult vanishes. Elias's published works include Skulls Along the River, 1910, exposes headhunters, cults in the Amazon basin. Master of the Black Arts, 1912, surveys supposed sorceress cults throughout history. The Way of Terror, 1913, analyzes systemization of fear through the cult organizations, warmly reviewed by George Sorrell. My favorite is The Smoking Heart, 1915. First half discusses historical Mayan death cults. The second half concerns present-day Central American death cults
That's the one that Declan read after finding it on Merriweather's office shelf.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, it wasn't my bathroom.
It was just too much. It just
Sons
took it in
of Death.
sections.
That's a good one. Page turner. Modern day thuggies. Elias infiltrated the cult and wrote a book about it. How did he get
I don't
into a
know.
thuggy cult in any anyway?
You know what?
Witch Cults of England, 1920, summarizes covens in the nine English counties, interviews practicing English witches, Rebecca West thought some of the material trivial and overworked. Black Power, 1921, expands upon The Way of Terror and includes some material on Asian and African death cults, includes interviews with several anonymous cult leaders, and The Hungry Dead, 1923, exposes a modern-day survival of a Peruvian and Bolivian death cult from the time of the conquistadors. There better be some shit in there about how cool we are.
You know what? It doesn't matter because Alexander's read all of these books.
If Mr. Elias stops and doing death cult stuff, he can always make up black metal death.
Yeah.
He's got a
It,
talent for it.
it omits many of the weirder details that those who accompanied Elias on his research may remember, presenting the cult of the Kirasari as a purely human evil. All of these books are published by Prospero House of New York City and were edited by owner/editor Jonah Kensington. Kensington is a good friend of Jackson Elias and someone you may have previously met.
So I know you were making your way across country, and that's probably going to take about a week. Is there anything else you wanted to do during that time between when you got the telegram and when you were due to meet Jackson on the 15th?
Not in particular.
All right. Mustafa, anything you want to take care of?
It is in January. It is possible that I may. I'm trying to think when the digging season in Egypt, but I may have just recently returned from. Because
Certainly possible.
usually what happens at the end of the summer is when the smart people go over to dig in the desert, unlike
Sure.
the, Tony Stark goobers.
Sure.
So yeah, I will probably come back, check on my classes at Arkham, and which I'm not teaching currently, and I don't know, go to some baseball games.
Not in
Baseball
January. You're not going to
games.
find a whole lot of baseball games.
Well, yeah, there's in the Caribbean. I'll go down to
Oh, so you're going to head south.
spring training.
Spring training starts in February.
Whoops. Womp womp.
Hookers and blow.
No, I mean, I will go. Usually, what happens is, I will order. He will order a bunch of books. Then he will go back and
Sure.
from interlibrary loan from all over weird
Absolutely.
places, and then he will go get them and go back to his place.
Okay.
So that's probably what he'll do.
Okay. Alexander, I don't believe you've accompanied Jackson on any of his misadventures in the past,
No.
but you've certainly talked to him. You're probably a little surprised to get this kind of telegram.
Yeah.
You're assuming that he probably wants you to do some additional research for him, which is probably why you dug into the Carlisle expedition information.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you wanted to take care of?
How much time is to catch a train from Arkham to?
So Arkham's near Boston. I mean, it's a half hour,
So-
maybe 2 hours on the outside.
So I've got a whole week to.
You got pretty much 2 weeks.
I'll dig through and read his most recent books.
Sure.
Just
Absolutely.
and then get ready.
I'm betting, since you know Margaret and Mustafa and interact with them fairly regularly, that you can probably check with them
Yeah.
to confirm details about that Peru book, since they were thanked in the credits.
Okay. Yeah. I'll look them up and let them know I'm gonna go meet with them here soon
All right.
if they're around.
I don't know.
There's a picture of Margaret with a giant magnet or maggot crawling
What?
up.
No, it would be a sweet hat. Everyone
like-
knows it would be a sweet hat.
There
It's a
probably
sweet
wouldn't
hat,
have been
but-
pictures in the book.
Sorry, if it was drawn.
Yeah, there's a drawing of that maggot when it was crawling.
No,
up
it would be
her
a
leg.
sweet hat.
So is that sort of on her face a little like inner mallet?
Yeah.
It didn't get me. I took that.
It's just like,
I collected it. I didn't wear it as a hat.
Father.
Well, I'll get everything in order for me being away for probably an extended period of time,
Sure.
as far as the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament go, and halfway home for the veterans. Other than that, though, Father O'Toole and I would probably do a little bit of research on what we could find out about the Carlisle expedition and whatnot,
You-
and that stuff there. Yeah.
Those are all the AP Wire articles,
Right.
so pretty much anybody would have found those same exact articles.
Well, just imagine Indiana Jones then, but with a collar on. I can
All right.
pack up and get ready.
The red
Take a
line moves
train.
from Cleveland to New York.
You got it.
Very good. Declan, you're
Um,
another one of these people who doesn't have very far to travel.
yeah. So I would have done the same, done a little research.
Sure.
I would have reached out to, Sully. Maybe invite him to New York.
We're gonna have a couple of drinking nights before
Yeah.
we go. Yeah.
He can crash, at my apartment, so he
Sure.
doesn't have to get a hotel if he wanted to come early. Then I figure,
Yeah, I haven't seen you in
maybe,
a while. That'd be good.
and maybe figure, see if Elias was going to be in New York any sooner, to maybe meet up with him,
Okay.
before.
Well,
we
New
all
York's a
get
big
together.
place too. We got to find out where
How
he
do
wants
we
to meet us.
how do we get a
Yeah.
hold of him if he has no known address?
Well, I believe that telegraph came from a ship.
Oh, it came from a ship.
You'll notice that at the top. I'm
Portal
pretty sure.
Telegraph Cable Company.
We're really good investigators.
I'm just not used to really cool handouts that have two
Honestly,
sides.
right.
Normally it's just like a piece
Oh,
of
by
paper,
the
something
way,
scratched on here.
John got a lot of good feedback about the handouts.
Thank
too.
you. Thank you. These are courtesy of the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society.
John made them all himself.
I
Well,
cannot claim any
He's
such
just
credit.
very humble.
He'll sell them to you for $700 a piece.
Didn't your wife get this for you for?
Yes.
That's
It was
awesome.
a generous Christmas gift.
And if you want to make them look old, you can use tea to brown
Yes.
the paper.
Absolutely,
and stuff.
certainly.
And
Yeah.
bloodstains,
Just
just a
let
little
it
bit of food
go.
coloring.
Yeah.
Or blood.
Or blood.
Yeah.
No,
That
actually,
works
that
too.
turns
That's
like
later,
brown and
that's later.
greenish, kind of necrotic after a while.
Yeah.
That's later. That's
Doesn't work
later.
as well.
But yeah, see where you're going. I like it.
I've never done that before.
Just got a diabetic neighbor that bleeds a lot, and sometimes I just have to splash it on things. That works out well.
Margaret, what were you taking care of in the time between when the telegram?
Well, she's from New York, so
Yeah.
it's not really that much of a stretch for
Sure.
her to just go from one place to the next.
Is there anything
so.
you wanted to take care of in those couple of weeks?
Just speak to
Make a will.
my guy in charge to make sure that everything, stays status quo at Storybrooke,
He's
and
pretty
also
sure-
lock that lab.
He's pretty sure that he's been running anything anyways,
Yeah.
so you get a lot of smiles and yes, of course, doctor.
And don't go in the lab.
Of course, doctor.
All right, and lock that.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, and then.
I do make it a point before I leave, though, to see my brother's newborn.
Sure.
Because I might not see her again. So.
I don't know why you feel that way. So, near as I can tell, that means there are two of you that have standard addresses in New York, both of you, and presumably you both have phone numbers as well.
Sure.
So we're going to roll that.
I'm rich.
And Margaret, your office phone rings on the morning of the 15th.
Oh, cool. Hello.
Margaret, this
Dr. Margaret Merriweather speaking.
Margaret, good to talk to you. This is Jackson. Look, I don't have much time. There are a lot of things going on, and I'm not sure who might be listening in on this. But Hotel Chelsea in Harlem, 8 o'clock tonight, room 410, bring everyone. You got that?
Hotel.
Oh, good,
Chelsea,
good. I'm glad you got it. I'll see you
Okay.
then. Bye-bye.
Hotel
I hope that
Chelsea
was
in
like
Harlem.
4 p.m.
That was probably like 11 in the morning.
Okay, great. So, that's fun.
You know those are going to melt when you get to Egypt, right?
Hotel Chelsea.
That's why I'm eating them now.
4
Okay.
p.m. I hope that's the right time.
8 p.m.
And you hung up on me. Okay.
Hotel Chelsea, room 410.
Ah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
It's on the 4th floor.
as I've said, so then I'm still in New York.
That's not good.
That's a sign.
You, Declan, you're in New
So-
York still.
That's
Yep.
a sign that Father
So-
Mulcahy can't jump out the.
I will go to your apartment
Okay.
and tell you that I've got a really strange call from Jackson. about us needing to go to the Hotel Chelsea in Harlem at 8 p.m. room 410 ASAP.
Okay. Well, lucky Sully's here.
Sorry, I was in the middle of
Oh,
reading
hey, sorry, I
something.
didn't see you. I was just knocking on the door and just yelling into the room there.
It's not. You know what? I lied to you. It's not in Harlem. It's
Whoops.
in Chelsea. It's in Manhattan. Chelsea's actually a neighborhood. Show you how much I know
Wait,
New York
it's
City.
not Hotel Chelsea.
Yeah,
It's the
Hotel-
name of it is Hotel Chelsea,
Okay,
and it's in
great.
the Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan.
You know what? We wouldn't have known any better.
Yeah,
You said
fair enough.
Actually, I was
otherwise.
just looking it up to see if I'd stayed there.
So I
It's
just say
at
that.
West 23rd between 7th and 8th Avenue.
Yep. I've never stayed there.
All right.
It's a cool place though.
Okay, in
Oh.
Chelsea.
How are Sully and Declan and Margaret going to get a hold of Mustafa and Alexander?
I probably came to you before I left and said what I was doing.
Okay, so that's no problem. If we've got telephones, then I know where this nerd always
Sure,
is.
you can call either of their office
Right,
phones.
these
and
guys
then
I can
Samus
call.
might be a little more challenging. Are you?
Well, I'd probably go back to the campus.
Sure, that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, you probably look out your window and Samus is knocking on it.
Classic Samus.
The window is open, but he pretends like he's
He just doesn't want to be creepy.
Samus.
He's just trying not to be creepy.
Brushing up on his mime skills. Miming ain't easy.
So if he's on campus, then I would reach out to
Sure.
Dr. Stewart.
All
And
right.
then that would make that clean. And then
Introduce
Mustafa's
myself.
also been back and forth, right? Would this be one of the times that you were probably back at
Yeah, as soon as I got the telegram, I would be.
head back?
Yeah.
That's easy,
Okay.
huh?
So yeah, by noon, everybody knows then about that the meeting is at 8 o'clock. What time are you folks planning on getting to that part of Manhattan? And are you
What
planning
is
on
that
meeting?
part of Manhattan like? Is it nice? Is it like the place you want to show up right on time?
It's a fairly nice area.
Okay.
We can all take the train together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay,
I have a suitcase packed with 2 suits and some toiletries and whatnot.
sure.
A couple books.
Yeah. All right.
Train it is.
So your trip there's uneventful. What time are you guys planning on arriving at the hotel?
What he wants to start what time?
He wants
So
us there at
8
8,
o'clock,
but if it's
so-
a nice hotel, we
Yeah,
can
let's
all
get there
just chill.
early. Let's get there
Yeah.
6 and have dinner at the hotel.
Okay,
Sure.
5:30 or something.
sure. All right. So then you head up there to be prompt or early, late.
Early.
Early.
All right. So for not any particular reason, just
Random.
out of random curiosity, what order do you guys head up the stairs in?
Good God.
Last!
I'm
I
innocent
don't
and
know.
naive. I'll go first.
So you're gonna go
I don't
first.
know.
All right.
I'll go second.
Declan,
I'll go after Declan.
Margaret, Sully.
That will make me laugh.
So Samus,
So
you
I'll,
comfortable
I'll
being?
take the hit in the back. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Watch your back.
So
You're
you
a
guys
hobo, you're
head up
good.
the stairs, and Alexander, since you're in the front,
Wouldn't we take the elevator?
it doesn't have an elevator.
Just conveniently.
The lift.
Nice.
Do you happen to have sense trouble?
Don't make me Google Chelsea Hotel.
Yeah,
I'll
actually,
find
a lot
that
of
out.
sense
You
trouble.
took a lot of sense trouble?
Yeah, like
Would
a lot
you like
and
to
a lot.
spend a point of sense trouble?
Of course.
That's from everyone stealing library books.
As you get to the door, you hear, before you can even raise your hand to knock, you hear a grunting noise.
Maybe we came out too early.
And you hear
Like anything.
Oh, I'll tell everybody something's happening.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah, there's something's happening in here. Something's happening in here, and I get out of the way.
You get out of the way.
Yeah.
All right, so you step back. Second in line was Declan. What's Declan doing?
I will
Did you try
hastily
the door?
try the door.
No.
The door is locked.
Start pounding on it. Jackson.
Sounds like someone's getting choked in there.
You start pounding on the door,
Do I hear what
and
you heard?
you hear the sounds of people moving around in there, hurrying, and it sounds like people are hurrying around in there,
So
scrambling.
no reply, but I'm hearing hurrying footsteps.
Yes.
I kicked that fucking
Yeah.
door down.
All right. Yes. You kick down the door, and you see immediately one guy climbing out a window onto a fire escape,
Yeah, pretty
That doesn't sound familiar at all.
and two others holding these big knives. They look kind of like machetes, only they come to a bit more, they have a slight curve in them.
Okay.
Each of them is wearing a white headband just over their heads, and there's a red piece of flannel that flaps down in front of it. All three of them are African American, and as soon as they see you, a second one rushes towards the fire escape, and a third one stands up brandishing his machete. You're in the lead. What are you doing?
I'm going to be a hero. Sorry.
Hell, I want to draw my gun and shoot.
Great.
All right, draw your gun and shoot.
Man, already.
Shoot first, ask questions
Wait,
later.
let's.
Shoot first, shoot
How
some
long did
more,
that take?
shoot a little more, and if there's
Oh,
anyone left
it's
for
like-
it.
We've
40
been through a
minutes.
lot, you know.
Well, that's our new record, isn't it?
Alright, I'm going to spend 2 points.
All right.
So how does this spinning work?
You'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
You
We'll walk
say
through
you're
it.
going to spend a point? Like
Okay.
if you want to do something that is
Then
not.
you just subtract it.
Is it gone forever?
No.
It's gone until
No.
until I tell you it refreshes.
Yeah.
Usually it's per session.
Mhm.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, so like you
But
have
you
a
have to have
total,
that to
whatever your
guide
total
what
skill
it's
point is, that's like your total pool
Okay.
that you can spend from. And sometimes, like general abilities, if you don't have a skill, you can still roll, but you can't spend
Add any points
You can't
to it.
add any points.
Okay.
And what that spent point is it's added to your dice roll as an automatic sort of number. So
Gotcha.
I'm spending 2, so I'm going to roll +2.
Gotcha. Okay.
Whatever, just learn.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
I was terrified. All right, see,
Yeah.
crazed
Yeah.
maniac.
Play it
like,
out.
And I was
Play
like,
that out.
totally.
So you let loose with a shot, and you cleanly missed him. It went right into the window frame over on the side. And the reason you missed is because you saw your friend Jackson looking suspiciously like that,
What
laying
the
across the bed.
No.
Sweet.
Okay.
Right behind you was Margaret. He just kicked in the door. What are you doing?
Well, I'm going over to. He has a headshot wound. Is that
No, he does
No,
not have a
no.
headshot.
Looks
going
like the
over
Batman symbol.
to triage first aid and or whatever doctor shit I can do.
Sure, you take a look. His
Thanks,
throat
man.
has been slit. He
But
has
there's
already
still a-
bled out.
All right, I'm trying to like,
And
pat it.
There's still a
brain
knife
medication.
wielding.
There
Like,
is still a
he-
knife
is he
wielding
still,
maniac.
like gurgling or anything? Can
You
I,
think
like,
that
add
that
pressure?
gurgle people might have heard was his last gasp of life?
All right.
Alexander, you were right beside the door. What are you doing?
I am going to run down the stairs and
Hey,
look
is
for a
that the
police
bat
officer.
symbol?
Okay, so you're gonna run down the stairs outside
Yeah.
and start screaming, "Police! Police!"
Yeah, and try
Awesome.
maybe get the guy on the
Sure.
fire escape.
Sure.
The police to get him.
All right. Next in the order was Father Sully, I believe.
Yeah. So, see all that.
Uh-huh.
Still a knife wielding man there.
Still a knife wielding man that has
No.
not been shot.
Not for long.
All right, what are you doing?
I'll pull out my 45 and
Awesome. Are you spending any points?
no one kills my friend. Yeah, I'll spend 2.
Well, clearly somebody does.
For a grand total of 7.
Oh wow,
Nice.
yeah, you connected. Give me that die roll and go ahead and add 1 to it.
Hit him in the.
Oh, and you're at point blank, so add another +1
So the right foot
or +2 rather.
or 4.
4. We're gonna make that 6. That wasn't the right foot. That was the right thigh because you blew off his leg.
Nice.
No one kills my friends.
And there's still one guy now descending the fire escape and one climbing through the window. Mustafa.
I will go over to the window.
Mm-hmm. There's a
and-
guy climbing out it currently.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab that guy.
All right, he does also have a
If
large
he's-
knife in his hand.
If he's like part way out the window, is
Yeah.
he going face first out the window?
No,
or-
that would be way too easy. He's going foot first, so he still has his knife in the room.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna get within reach of the knife because I don't
Okay.
have a gun on me.
All right.
If he's not doing anything, I'll do something.
I'm a foreigner.
So what are you doing?
I'm gonna punch him.
All right, give me so that's scuffling versus weapons, since he's got a knife.
I'm going to. I really need to get a gun. But
We all have guns.
Margaret says I'm violent.
I don't have a gun.
Margaret doesn't give two shits about whether you're violent or not.
6 plus a point.
Oh, you were spending?
Yeah, that's
Okay, so
scuffling.
you didn't mention that.
I'm sorry. Well, I didn't. I rolled a 6, so
So we'll go with the 6.
yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, you landed a solid hit. Give me the damage roll on that punch. You somehow managed to duck under his knife swing. and
5.
5. All right. You land in with a solid punch, and he collapses to the
Jesus.
ground. Samus, last one into the room.
Fall in or does he fall out?
He falls in because he was not far enough out.
Thank you.
Well, I see one guy by the window, right? I see the other guy fighting, right?
With a leg blown off.
You see
With the
one guy
leg-
with a leg blown off. One guy just collapsed through the window, and you know that you saw that. You can hear somebody climbing on the fire escape outside.
I'll run down the stairs.
All right. So you're gonna follow Alexander down the stairs.
Yeah.
And what are you trying to do when you get to the bottom?
Go to the side of the building where the fire escape is.
All right.
I will disarm said.
Hold on. Coming around. So we're gonna go back to the top of the order.
Is the knife-wielding, legless guy still coming at us, or is he?
No, no. He is bleeding out very quickly.
Did you say Legolas?
Yeah. Did he? Well, is he on the ground?
He
or
is-
is
he
just
collapsed
Like, he
and
collapsed.
is-
Okay.
In his face is going pale. There is a lot of blood. He brought a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah.
Literally.
All right,
I
I'm
didn't need a
going
gun.
to then drag. So and there's a guy like knocked out, who's like hanging in the windowsill.
Yep. Yep.
All right, I want to drag him into the.
Is there anybody else still up? Wasn't there a third one or no?
The one that's on the fire escape.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull him out of the window
Sure.
forcefully, and I'm gonna start to like figure out if I can tie him up.
There are bed sheets here.
That's all I'm gonna do.
Unfortunately, Jackson is sprawled across them, but
Oh,
there-
and I was by
there's
him
towels
too.
in the in
Yeah.
the bathroom too.
I'll rip some towels.
Yeah, sure. All right, yeah, you run over, grab some towels to tie him up.
Now that everybody's out of the window way, I'm diving through that window, going after the guy. In the
All right,
If I can get a clean shot at him, I will.
sure. Give me an athletics roll because this fire escape is pretty rickety out here.
I'll spend 2 for that.
All right, seems like a good call.
That's genius, by the way, Nate.
6.
Awesome.
With
Yeah,
the-
you
with the
are
2, 6.
making good pace down it, and you do see a guy. He is now 2 flights ahead of you, shooting down the stairs. But you can try and take a shot at him. Go ahead and take a -1 on this, though, because of all that's going on. But he's also trying to climb the rather rickety fire escape in a hurry, so he's going to be at a minus on his.
Spend 1 more on my
roll.
firearm here. That would give me a net of 2.
You're just not able to get a clean shot
No problem.
because of all the movement that's going on, including the shaking of the fire escape. You're going quickly, and you're starting to feel like if you go any quicker, the fire escape may fall off the building.
God, he's a coward.
Alexander, you got to the bottom, shouted police.
I'm gonna go around the fire escape.
Okay, and you do see a couple of beat cops walking down the street, and they come running this way.
Like, murder, murder, murder! Yeah,
Oh.
this guy here is a murderer.
They love it when you call them flatfoots.
At the bottom of the fire escape,
I'll go to the bottom. Yeah, to try and stop.
you see a 1915 Hudson Touring Roadster parked there with New York license plate NYL7.
I'll run over to that.
Okay?
Is there somebody in the driver's?
No, but
No?
the engine's running.
Oh, I'll jump in it.
Okay.
Jump in it and drive away so they can't get away.
All right. So you do that?
And
Sam?
I'll wait for the guy running down the fire escape.
Okay. You're probably going to get there very shortly after, or pretty much the same time as he does.
Okay.
Are you going to lay into him when he gets down?
I'll do
All right.
hand-to-hand combat.
He does. As you get to the bottom, he whips out his machete as you go in to brawl with him. So give me a roll. Scuffling,
No
you spending any
points.
points? No? Okay.
2.
I'm looking at a 5, so he whacks into you with his machete. That is going to deal 4 points of health damage. cuts into probably your upper arm as he swings it at you, and you try to use your arm to block the swing.
What else are arms for?
Exactly. Clearly, I mean that's why you have them. That
Would be a little risky.
that was Margaret. You were trying to care for him. You have determined that Jackson has expired at this point.
Okay.
There is not a whole lot you can do except rifle through his pockets for loose change at this point.
Okay, but there is a guy with a blown leg that's inside here,
There
right?
is, yes. There is a guy with a blown off leg, and there is a guy slumped unconscious.
Unconscious guy I don't care about. Sully, what do you want me to do with the blown off leg guy? Want me to patch him or
I'm out
dispatch
the window
him?
already. I'm about to do
that's
something very
right.
risky and
I think
stupid.
I'm
Who's
the
in
only-
here with me?
I think I'm the only one.
Declan and Mustafa
Oh,
are both in
What do
there.
we want to do with this guy?
I'm tying up
I
this
can
other
stop
guy.
the
And
blood.
Mustafa, did you do something on the second turn?
No.
What are you doing?
I was gonna disarm window guy, but
He dropped his knife, and that was the only weapon he had.
You knocked him.
You did.
is I don't care about the legless guy. If we interrupted a murder, is CPR a thing? Does he have any? Does Jackson have any visible wounds?
He's
Or-
Big
done.
old
dude.
slit throat. Yeah.
Oh,
And-
slit
Yeah,
throat.
yeah, a slit throat.
I didn't-
Photographs over there.
I saw that, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, his throat's been
I was
slit.
looking at that thing on his forehead.
The thing on the forehead is very
It looks like-
distinctive.
Yeah, that's
Looks
why
like
I thought he got a gunshot
Batman.
under the forehead. That was
No, I was
the
gonna
first
say it
thing
looks like Worf from Star Trek.
I suppose it could.
Oh,
Or
okay.
a bite mark.
It,
Some carb.
So his
Sure.
throat is cut.
his throat is, yeah, looks.
Right.
And in fact, one of the machetes that's in the room has his blood still on it.
Kind of looks like a scarab.
Well, we actually didn't really commit any crimes here.
What does
Yeah,
everybody
So
want me to
we
do?
don't know what to do.
Right. What do you want
Look
me to
for
do
a
about
crime
the
to
guy
commit,
that is
quickly.
probably screaming with the blown off leg? What do we want to
Oh
do
yeah,
with
is he
him?
screaming?
No, he passed out. from
Oh,
Oh, okay,
oh,
cool.
okay,
Pain
my
and
bad,
blood
my bad,
loss.
my bad, my
Yeah.
bad.
Here, I'll help you with the decision.
He
I
let
kick
loose-
him in the face.
He let loose with an immediate scream, but
Okay.
then collapsed.
Okay.
And none of them have said anything.
Right.
All right.
Yet.
So, unconscious, collapsed, dealing with things in the room, sitting in the car,
Getting
getting
hacked
cut,
Yep.
and coming rushing down. I think you'd be the next one to act again.
This is where I become a little reckless.
All right.
I'm gonna try to jump from where I'm at on top of the guy who's hacking up my friend.
Awesome. Love it. Give me an athletics roll. Are you spending any points?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
All
spend
right.
points on this one. I'll spend 2 points
So
on
it's
this
somewhere
one.
less.
All right, you're
than
probably
4
dropping about
stories.
20 feet.
I'm gonna spend
That's
3
not
points
true.
on this
Okay.
one.
That was a very
Eight.
nice roll. I am
Yeah.
very impressed by that
I'm
roll.
impressed by that.
Yeah, you managed to jump out the window. Toss me a scuffling roll right away. Tell me if you want to spend any points on this.
You're gonna
no.
impale yourself on his-
Actually, you know what?
The
You're
shit.
gonna be stupid. Might
Fire
as well go
Scully is
hold
like
on.
a badass.
So I'll toss a point in the scuffling.
It's like Boondock Saints over there.
All right. So yeah, you jump out and decide, I'm going to land on him.
Boondock Saints style.
And you land feet first right on the shoulders of this guy and crush him into the ground face first. You saw him coming and took a half a step back and saw the guy land jaw first on the pavement with,
American
you know,
Jack style.
180 pounds of Jesuit priest coming down on top of him for the 20-foot fall.
Try not to bleed on it.
You do a nice tumbling roll. You're still going to take, let's call it 1 health damage off of that because let's face it,
Yeah.
you jump 20 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
But you did it with style and flair,
And if
and you
every
had
had been
a
clapping.
crazed cultist to break your fall.
Yeah.
So you came crashing down. As you do that, 2 Irish cops come running around the corner with Alexander.
I thought Alexander was
Actually, no,
in the
Alexander's
dumpster.
sitting in the car.
Yeah.
2
Yeah,
Irish
that's what-
cops
yeah.
come running around the corner, and they're trying to figure out who to arrest. Obviously, it's not the priest. And so they
Oh yeah. Well, no, I'll stay out of it.
and they're, what happened? I heard someone say murder.
Alright, lads, it's up on the 3rd floor there. 4th floor there, lads. 4th floor. This scum right here killed me friend.
Well, we'll be taking him in then. The one goes to lock him up and starts blowing on his whistle to call for support, and cuffing this guy. And when he sees that when he sees that he's African American and dressed, wearing some kind of crazy cult garb on his face, he's not too gentle with him. Then he picks him up and drops him a couple of times, and you realize this guy was in pretty bad shape to start with. He was knocked clean out by your collision with him. But they tie him up, and in a few minutes, a paddy wagon comes along. Three of you that are up in the room, what are you doing?
I was asking them what they wanted me to do about the passed out guy
All
with
right,
the
so
leg.
you're doing taking care of the two.
We have one that's
Injured people.
alive
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tied him
and
up.
relatively healthy.
Mhm.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone
Yeah.
care about the guy with the leg?
Knowing
No.
that the
Okay.
PD is probably going to be pretty
Doesn't
rough with
bother
the guy
me.
that's still alive
Yeah.
upstairs, I'm going to try to delay him a bit by giving them a very nice and long explanation of what's been going on so that they stay downstairs.
Sure.
Giving them possibly some time to talk to this
Pull the
third.
car around the block
All right.
and go through the glove box and trunk.
Sure. Looking through the glove box, you do find a registration for the car. It belongs to.
You need some help, don't you? Your arm being all.
I still have an
Machete.
arm left. It's
Yeah.
not totally sawed off. It's only a flesh.
You find some registration for a Jacob Masterson as the owner of the car. He lives in Brooklyn.
Probably still.
Anything in the trunk?
Just some schmuck's car.
A toolkit, spare tire.
Okay.
Actually, the spare tire would probably be on the trunk.
Yeah, nothing like special, nothing
No.
weird in there. Okay, then just turn it off, leave the keys under the mat, and
All right.
go back to these guys.
Sure. Is anybody taking a look around the hotel room
Yeah,
before the police come up?
I am gonna spend my time on trying to wake the guy up who I've now tied up,
Okay.
and so I want to ask him some questions.
Sure.
So that's what I'm doing.
All right. You've probably got Margaret helping you wake him up.
Okay.
Mustafa?
I'm gonna look around the room, see if I see it. if
Do
any-
you have evidence collection?
No.
No, you don't.
What?
I do.
You do, but you're not using it. Or did you want
Well,
to use evidence collection
I have
instead?
a degree in archaeology, so
Yes, but
it's
apparently you never
kinda
learned
the
how to
same
collect
thing.
evidence.
And anthropology.
You're a supervisor.
I
And
spend
first
a
other
point
people what
to
to do.
sort of have some sort of like just situational awareness and
Sure.
maybe just see
It
something.
occurs to you that maybe you should take a look through Jackson's stuff before the police get here and collect all the evidence in the room.
Yeah, I would think that too, actually.
All right.
I would definitely get any recent notebooks.
Well,
Like the obvious stuff. Yeah.
you find a letter. A business card. A matchbook. A photograph.
Can I see the matchbook, please?
Yeah, I was actually going to see if there were matches.
There are.
Another business card.
Attention to detail is pretty impressive.
Yes.
A letter.
So many clues.
A copy
Go to the
of
back.
Andrew Dixon White's A History of the Warfare of Science with Theology in Christendom. Has a bookmark in it.
All right.
Where did this stuff come from?
I'm
Looking
searching
around the room.
They're
before the
they're
cops
they're
come up.
turning the room, looking to see what Jackson had brought into it.
And I asked if I think I would have asked if Margaret could help wake up the guy just tied up. 'Cause we
Sure.
have some
Yeah, do you have smelling salts?
Smelly salts.
Yeah. Sure.
Like the face
I'm
you made.
really nice. I love patience in people now.
It's angry.
Get up!
You-
Slap him in the face.
He comes around, and his eyes are kind of blinking, and he looks up at you.
Mustafa, look at the stuff I found.
Goddess,
What?
goddess,
We need to keep this.
I have
safe
served
for
you.
The gendarmes.
Do I get my reward?
Murdering my friend? No, that's not gonna happen.
I do? Many wonders! Many wonders!
Okay, show me one.
He's looking around. Where's my knife? Why are my hands tied?
No knife for you, buddy. I want to be a little aggressive, and I want to, like, when I hear him talking now,
Yeah.
I want to approach and, like, grab him by his collar or whatever.
Sure.
Say, why did you do this?
It sounds like an intimidation use.
Yes.
Are you spending a point?
Yes.
Alright. You don't need to roll. It's
Okay.
It's an investigative skill.
Yeah.
He looks up at you, and his eyes roll back, and he starts mumbling. What languages do you have?
The one I need.
To fit my character's background, a European one.
Okay.
So if it is fitting,
German,
German or French or
Spanish.
Spanish or something like that.
He is
Not
not
Spanish, I've
speaking
actually chosen to
any
say
of
Spanish.
those languages.
I'd probably speak it.
Yeah,
But
then
you
I'm-
are not up
I'm
there.
not up there, no.
Yeah. He starts babbling very quickly in a heavily accented language with diphthongs that you are not accustomed to hearing,
Mhm.
and verbal clicking,
Okay, so
tongue clicking.
interesting. So I want to recall the memories of Peru
Mm-hmm.
and the language that Larkin was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have any similarities in sort of in tone or in
That is an
sound?
excellent question. It does not.
Okay. So then I'm just going to assume that he is just speaking a different language. I don't know.
That seems like a safe bet.
Okay. Not like summoning some.
He's not going to start turning.
He's not going to turn black, like, smoky or
You
whatever.
hope not.
I'm going through the stuff, but I can hear
Yeah.
this. I was actually born in Africa.
Yes.
Does any of this sound?
It sounds
African
like
dialect?
Swahili.
Okay. I do not speak.
That's funny. I was like,
I don't speak Swahili, but I recognize that it is Swahili. Is it possible that I might know a little Pidgin Swahili?
Pidgin Swahili?
Yeah. I haven't.
You pick up a couple of words. You hear mother. You're pretty sure you hear
I got you,
harvest.
mother.
Oh, then I didn't hear him say that in English then, right?
No,
Called
he
you
spoke
goddess.
He
English
did.
first.
Oh, he did.
and then he started babbling.
Babbling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He called you goddess.
I've been called worse.
He started.
Don't contribute to her large ego, please.
And you're pretty sure he said poison, but it might have been cucumber. You're not positive.
He's got a poison cucumber. Watch out.
Okay.
How long? All right, so you guys are probably. This is probably going to take about 20 minutes to get through that part upstairs. Downstairs,
Sure.
I'll head back up.
the one officer is holding the guy, and after a few minutes of him blowing on a whistle, a paddy wagon pulls up, and then a couple more guys come out and head upstairs, and the paddy wagon goes off with the prisoner, and presumably they're calling in for a homicide detective.
If I can,
Yeah.
cool. It's only been like 10 minutes or so.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to detain them, just to, talk to them. We're probably all Irish anyway, so.
Yeah.
Oh, they absolutely are all Irish.
I'll head back up to find.
So
the rest of
I'll
these
try to
guys.
give them, like I said, as much time as possible,
Sure.
unmolested up in that room.
Do you have cop talk?
I don't,
Yes,
but
All right.
I do
first
speak
off.
Gaelic.
How
about
about
the Republic.
reassurance?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of that.
If you want to spend a point of that, you'll be able to delay them for a pretty long time.
I'll spend a point.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, after probably about 20 minutes, you guys have tried to question this guy as well as you can. He hasn't spoken any more English. The other guy remains passed out. A police detective arrives.
Can we head back upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Head upstairs.
Yeah, though the officer doesn't want anyone else entering the room, and in fact asks the two of you to leave when you explain that you're a physician.
Yeah, I know.
You mean a nurse?
No, I am not a nurse. I'm a physician.
That guy right
nurse.
there. He called her a nurse.
Well, all right, doctor. You can stay with your patient.
Thank you.
And he stands guard at the door and until the detective arrives. And the detective comes up.
I see
Does
that card.
anyone have cop talk?
I do.
Are you going to handle the discussions with the officers?
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
Is Alexander back up? Are you back up?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think Samus
Is
came
it
up too, right? So, yeah,
weird if we
everybody-
start talking to each other? With the cops will be like, I don't want to draw attention.
You guys can discreetly
Okay,
talk to
because
one
I
another,
really think
but you
we
might
should
want
do
to
this.
not want to call attention to the fact that you flipped the room first.
Well,
Right,
she's,
right, right.
She's the only one in the room.
Right? Yeah, you're in the room with the patient unless you
Alexander's
decide
not?
to leave.
And you're
I'm
not-
standing outside the hallway.
The officer asked everyone to leave,
Okay.
but
I
gave
have
you an
all this
okay. You can
stuff.
stay with your patient.
I like stuffed it in my coat.
You have this.
Yeah.
Give it. Well, you need to give it to Alexander.
Okay, I mean,
I'm
we
sure
don't
I'll get
want
passed around.
We're,
Well, I mean, I'm trying to
The-
be as realistic.
these
as-
guys are, these cops are pretty thick-headed, and the crime here is probably cut and dry to them, so we'll have
Yeah, well, it could be
ample
something
time to
else.
look at
No.
this stuff.
British ship for sure.
Yeah, which
They
it
went
could
through all
be.
that time
Yeah,
photo editing that
South
in.
Africa, man. It's gotta be. Take a look at some of this architecture here.
The detective
Asia.
comes around to
Yeah,
you.
that's true.
Says,
too. I don't think
I'm
that's
Lieutenant Poole.
architecture.
And you are?
Declan Steele. I hand him my PI license.
All right.
My New York PI license.
Ah. Who shot this man?
That would be like,
We panicked, officer. You know, I explained the scenario in which we were, ambushed by a knife-wielding man who charged at us.
Knife-wielding black man attacked a good Catholic priest? Ah, obviously, he had it coming. I'll just need to take your names for the records.
I'll give him our names.
Yeah.
What about the other man?
Take him down to the precinct, see what we can get out of him. I'm sure he'll have something to tell us.
Okay. Is there any way that I can accompany you?
Of course. Yeah, why not? This is the 9th one we've had.
What?
Past 2 years, had 9 victims like this, all with that same mark carved into their head.
Over 2 years?
Over 2 years.
Where?
All over the city.
Does anybody have a camera?
Somebody
Yes,
did.
we
They took
do.
that picture.
I have photography.
All
and
of them had those.
preparedness.
Yeah,
I
then
might
you
have
certainly
a
have a camera. Yeah. All 9 of them had those same marks carved into their foreheads. It's folklorist Dr. Lemming, Dr. Mordecai Lemming, said that symbol belongs to some African death cult. It's the only thing we managed to turn up so far. But Captain Robeson, 14th Precinct in Harlem, arrested Hilton Adams, another Harlem dweller, after finding him at the scene of the last one of these murders.
Who
He's
was that-
already in Sing Sing.
Who was that arresting officer?
I don't know who performed the arrest, but Captain Robeson was the lead investigator on it. He'd taken over charge of the investigation after the 6th or 7th murder.
Is it?
You guys still here speaking Swahili?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to
he's
ask.
mumbling in Swahili.
Okay.
I'm sure I know Swahili.
Do you?
Sure.
Now.
You do
All
now.
right.
Yeah.
So he is speaking rapid fire Swahili.
Okay.
And in fact, you can place it as he has a Kenyan accent.
Officer, I can translate. I know this language.
All right. He is going into grave detail about his first sexual encounter when he was 11.
Wow. I'll talk back to him.
Apparently, it involved an elephant.
I'll talk back to him like, why would you do that?
Who doesn't?
Ask him where he's staying, like where his friends are. Does he need help?
He explains that he's dwelling in the sewers
Okay.
of Boston,
Okay.
and all of his friends are here in this hotel.
Ask him where he got the car.
The car, he was driving it across the rooftop.
Okay. Look at you. Did he on LSD or some kind of drug? Can you tell?
Can I?
Do you have you have psychology? I assume? Actually, you have pharmacy.
Yes.
I have psychoanalysis.
You have pharmacy. You would be able to recognize if he was drugged up.
Okay.
He does not appear to be drugged up.
Okay.
However, some of the facial tics that are going on, and the way his eyes are moving, there is not a whole lot of activity going on up here. This man has clearly experienced some extreme mental trauma in the past, which you can reconcile with the acts of somebody that would have no qualms about committing murder. Like Mustafa or the father.
Can I
I have
psychoanalysis?
not murdered anyone.
Can I use psychoanalysis to see if I can tell what he's got going on?
You pretty much come to that same conclusion.
Okay.
I'm hurt.
Before the coroner comes, I'll perform last rites on Jackson.
All right.
Probably wouldn't like it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
All right. Very good.
I will take a picture of
A guy who exposed
Sure.
cults being given last rites by a cultist.
I'll tell the officer that he's very crazy.
theologian.
This guy's crazy.
It's a difference.
Like he's speaking
It is
gibberish about
no difference.
talking
except
about
for
relations
the
with
murder.
animals and just kind of relay a little bit. Like
Sure.
this guy's really nuts. This is loony bin, not Sing Sing kind of stuff. Or both, whatever.
I'm not sure I
That's
need
your
to go
business,
to
sir.
the cops.
Well, seems to me these crazy people must be involved in some kind of ritual killings. I don't think this is just one man.
He says he lives in a sewer in Boston. I don't know if that matters or not.
Well, I don't know.
That's my thinking. I'll probably tell you this in this quiet voice.
Yeah.
That's I'm having a hard time reconciling all of that.
I'm just telling you what he's saying.
I guess we'll take him down to the precinct, see if he's got anything more to say, along with
What that is.
the one we got downstairs.
Do I recognize the symbol that was carved in Jackson's forehead?
It does look a little bit like a tattoo that you guys saw once upon a time.
Do we actually have
A fang
camera
If you go
or
like that.
He has a camera.
It's a scarab, right?
No.
What is it?
When we were in Peru, there was a man who was calling himself Carlisle, and he had it on his chest.
His name
No,
was not
Larkin.
Oh, Larkin, excuse me, Larkin, not Carlisle. On his chest was a blue tattoo of a fanged maw in a circle.
Is that what that sort of looks like?
It does. Looks an
When I
awful
turn it to
lot
the
like
side-
Larkin's tattoo.
Yeah, I'm about to say that.
mean,
First I
I
thought
can
it was the
see,
bat
like-
symbol, but
Here's some, like maybe those
Yeah.
are the teeth.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. This kind of looks like
Larkin's tattoo.
Larkin's tattoo.
Who was Larkin?
The detective just said that?
Yeah.
Nothing. I just use cop talk.
it's a bird.
It's a bird. He was in the army, two birds on his chest. Never mind.
All right. He kind of looks at you a little oddly.
So this detective Rhodeson, is he
Captain
still?
Captain
Captain
Robeson of the 14th Precinct. I was working this case and he stole it out from under my nose, saying he had rank for questioning everything related to the Adams case.
That's who died? That was one of the victims, one of the 9 victims?
No, Adams is the one that he said did it. Adams is the one that's in Sing Sing now for it.
What do you think?
Hilton Adams. I don't think he did it. I think Robeson's on the take. I think he's a dirty cop.
It's 1925. Of course, he's a dirty cop.
Hey!
I say that out loud.
Sorry about that.
It's kind of cold.
So who? So how long ago was that? Was Adams arrested?
4 months.
Just so you know, when I'm sitting here scribbling notes, Declan carries around like a pencil and a notepad.
Sure.
So he's
Private
often,
dick.
yeah, he's often scribbling
I
notes.
think one of the victims was named Jacob Masterson.
Mm-hmm.
The police officer was one of the victims Jacob Masterson.
No.
Okay, good.
Why?
I heard one of them say that name. I didn't know.
That was the
Car.
car.
Yeah, I didn't know if they stole it or if they killed the guy and took it.
Look that up. It's registered.
They can't run a plate
Yeah,
that quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but you guys will eventually find out the car was stolen tonight.
Makes sense.
Okay. In Brooklyn, though, which is interesting. That's
Well,
right down the street.
It was stolen from right down the street.
Yeah.
The guy happened to have driven it into Manhattan.
Yeah.
Somebody drives in that.
Apparently this guy did.
Back in the 20s, you might have been able to. I mean,
that's true.
there was many cars.
Not horses.
So were you working the case, the first victim, like 2 years ago?
I was working all the cases that were in my district. There were 4 of them.
There were 4 in your district.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, John. What is this guy's name?
Lieutenant Poole, Poole.
You went downtown with him, right?
Do you know who the other? I'm sorry.
You went downtown with these flatfoots, right?
Yeah, I think I did.
Probably went back to the precinct with Poole.
Yeah, just to
I
kind
don't
of
know
like.
if anybody accompanied him.
I kind of trying to get some more
Actually,
information.
you
about
probably
these
would have
online.
needed to accompany him since
Yeah.
you admitted to the shooting.
Do you
Yeah.
guys want to meet up somewhere after?
Luckily, I do have a license.
Do you want to go investigate some of these things and meet up somewhere?
I gave Mustafa a bunch of stuff that I found before I interrogated this guy.
Yeah.
So.
Obviously, we're not saying this in front of the police.
Right.
Yeah. This is,
Yeah.
But do you guys want to? Do you want us to look at some of this stuff and then we'll just meet up at the
You
bar
might want to
later?
look at the people from Harvard.
Yeah,
I think
that's
you
what I was
know.
going to see if you want to go. You guys want to go with
Now,
me
when you say the bar, do you mean a speakeasy or do you mean?
yeah,
20s.
to a restaurant afterwards? We'll catch dinner when this is all said and
Did we
done.
make hotel reservations?
I
mean,
don't know.
Maybe we made.
Probably get a room at the Chelsea.
Seems to have available
One's
vacancies
vacant.
now.
That was
I would-
too soon. Too soon.
I would say that that we probably would have made hotel reservations.
Sure.
We don't want to. God only knows what's going to happen. You know, we've been doing this enough to know that we're either going to need a place to hide out.
I'm 20 minutes out of town, so like I probably would not have gotten hotel reservations with the rest.
We'll all meet at Steele's place. Meet back at say 10 p.m.
It's fine, and I would have happily offered my small apartment.
Okay. Well, we're still going to need a place to sleep, though. We're not going to sleep there.
We can get. I mean, we have money. I can get a hotel.
Yeah.
I'm in Red Hook.
Hotel in Red Hook's going to be a whole lot cheaper than a hotel in Manhattan.
And you get so many
I don't know.
companions
I'll
coming
talk
with
to my cat. He really likes Manhattan.
you. Just meet at his
We'll meet at his
at
place
town.
and we'll get a hotel nearby.
Wherever you want to stay.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's fine.
So we'll go.
Alright.
We'll head over to Harvard.
So yeah, you guys can head to Red Hook. So we'll proceed. You go through a whole lot of paperwork with the police,
That's fine.
but it's fairly painless all in all.
Yeah.
You turn the patients over to the police. The one has expired, and the other one seems largely incoherent. But they say they'll take care of him. You guys can go ahead and have the discussion you wanted to have, though, back at the hotel room. You like?
Yeah. Well, okay.
I figured I spent, a couple hours.
Yeah, but if you say by 10 o'clock, it's probably going to be midnight by the time you guys can all get back together. I don't know if you want to have that discussion that late or if you want to wait till the next
We'll
morning.
wait the morning.
I'll stop at the hospital and have my cut checked out.
Sure.
While these guys are doing whatever.
You're able to get it stitched up unless Margaret decides to help you with it.
The doctor.
The nurse, yeah.
Oh, that's you want a real doctor?
Yeah.
She opens the wound up a little more. Mom, can't help you out.
Yeah, this is gonna be infected.
Yeah. Go ahead and take 3 of the points of health back. And the next morning,
Poor Jackson.
somebody probably checks the paper. Finds
Delivered
that
on
article.
Should we read it? Author murdered by brutal killers. Body found in Hotel Chelsea. Possible connection to Harlem murders. By Rebecca Schoenberg. Arthur Jackson Elias, 41, was found murdered in his 4th-floor room at Hotel Chelsea, where the killers were reported to have used long knives to butcher the victim. Lieutenant Martin Poole of the murder squad stated that he is exploring possible connections between this murder and similar slayings in Harlem last year. The good friends of Jackson Elias are in the morning at the news. Mr. Elias had some fame as a writer, specializing in popular, well-researched books about strange and violent cults worldwide, a subject in which he was an acknowledged expert. His first book, published in 1910, was Skulls Along the River, exposing headhunter cults in the Amazon basin. His best-known work was Sons of Death, 1918, which he infiltrated a group of modern-day thuggies in India. He has no living relatives and maintained no permanent address. Although he was an expert world traveler, he often visited New York, where the offices of the publisher Prospero House are located on Lexington Avenue. He was known to favor the Hotel Chelsea while in the city. The murder of Elias bears similarities to a series of other killings committed in Harlem over the course of the last year or more. Local residents Hilton Adams, 29, of West 18th, 137th Street, was convicted of one of the Harlem murders in October last and is believed by police to be guilty of others. He is awaiting execution in Sing Sing. Adams, a Negro, is a veteran of the war and served as a sergeant in the 369th Infantry Regiment. Lieutenant Poole offered no opinion as to whether the new murder indicates that Adams had accomplices or is innocent of the previous crimes.
Do you want some to drink?
Yeah, would you just have them throw one of these on my tab? Thank you.
So between that and I say pretty much what Poole and I had discussed.
Please share.
You gonna make me repeat?
I'm going to make you just present it in character for the rest of the group.
So Poole last night was saying that there were 9 other murders that were similar to Jackson's, and that guy Adam Hilton, though was arrested and convicted. Poole doesn't think that he did it.
Huh.
The cop?
The cop.
Cop doesn't think that Adams did it.
No.
Is there any way that we can talk to Adams?
I might have a way.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he's.
I might have a way to talk to
In that letter, I think Margaret and I, and possibly Staffa, were going to go to Harvard and talk to see what book he was looking for, Elias was looking for.
Okay, you know what? I should probably.
Actually,
stuff.
if we're well,
Here,
are we going to track down his killers, or are we going to?
Well, his
leave-
killers are already, one's dead
Apprehended.
and 2 are in custody.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't think we're going to get much out of him anyway.
That guys were crazy.
Yeah, he was babbling incoherently.
well, they have. We don't know what he was going to tell us, obviously, about the Carlisle expedition. So we're either going to have to figure it out ourselves, or
This letter is certainly a good place to start.
I mean the Harvard letter,
Yeah. He was looking for something.
Oh, what
What's
was
this other
the
here say?
a book.
match?
Mr. Roger
Box.
Carlisle.
What Matchbox?
Okay.
And this is very
There's a
interesting.
card in here, Silas and Quane at Emerson Imports.
Okay.
I dabble in that same business.
Yeah.
Maybe I should check that out.
That's a
with
good
the
lead.
party.
And this letter seems to be for Mr. Carlisle. So this had to have been, yeah, I mean,
It's
in
1919.
1919.
I am familiar with the gentleman who originated that letter.
Bessart?
Yes.
Bessart. Okay.
He's a Frenchman.
He is a filthy Bosch.
One other question: do we know when that bookmark was? That tonight only? What night is that?
I think it says on there, doesn't it?
I didn't see a date.
No, unfortunately, it does not
It
say.
says 8 p.m. on it.
Yeah, it just says 8 p.m., but this could have been from 2
You're
weeks
right.
ago, or
It does not.
Can we inquire into the place to see when that is happening?
Certainly can.
to our election.
Well, if it's midnight,
You
when
might
we all get together, it probably already
know.
happened.
It already happened, perhaps, because this was at Miskatonic.
Yeah, you might already know about it.
Do we know anything about that?
Well, that's an excellent question.
Since we all work
since
there.
At least 3 of you have affiliations with Miskatonic. Yeah, so you would have.
Would we know Professor Anthony Cowles?
You know, you've met Professor Cowles in passing. He is from Sydney, and he's working as professor of anthropology at Miskatonic. He probably presented that probably a week or so back.
It's possible that one or more of us actually went. It's not like we're dating anybody or anything. We're all murder hobos.
Actually, any red-blooded American man, or any man in the neighborhood of Miskatonic certainly has heard of Professor Cowles, mostly because his daughter Ewa is really hot.
Huh.
And yeah, she's about 19, and likes wearing skirts that are just about 4 inches past the knee, really short ones.
Oh, scandalous.
Yes.
Showing ankle.
Is
Show you
she?
Oh.
Does she wear glasses?
Distasteful.
She does not.
Does she look like a librarian?
She does not.
This is a stretch, but I'm going to try it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see if I can
No,
pull
no,
some of my
that's-
contacts in the diocese local here.
Sure.
See if I can speak
bottle.
to the prisoner in Sing Sing, possibly about getting insight for the other patients that I have, or for
Which
other
makes sense.
wars, to see if there might be a possibility between violent behavior and
So you're able to get in touch with the chaplain of Sing Sing prison, and anytime you want, you can come. He'll get you in to have a chat with anybody there that you want to talk to.
All right. So I'll head to Sing Sing to talk to this. What's his name again?
Adam Hilton.
Adam.
Well, if people continued to be killed after he was in prison,
Yeah.
then he was either had helpers or he wasn't involved at all, right?
Well, I mean, there were 3 of these people, and if this is another one of these cults that perhaps Jackson Elias was doing research on, he may be a cultist.
Or he'd just be some schmuck that they picked up off the street.
Well,
and
that's
shot
true
down.
too. I mean, wrong place, wrong time.
When you guys
Yeah.
check, at some point during the day on the 16th, you'll see an afternoon paper. And when you do, you note that in the death notices, Jackson has an entry, and his funeral is scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow, the 17th,
Okay.
at Cypress Hills Cemetery in Brooklyn.
Okay.
There's no next to kin labeled or anything on it.
There's no next of kin, though it mentions Prospero House.
Okay.
His handling arrangements.
Well, I just if my character might think that he was doing research, and this on this whatever this is.
We know what this is. That
Well, that's certainly a
coincidence
cult.
doesn't come
Yeah.
around. If that's almost the same symbol that we saw in Peru, something tells me.
Well, I don't see any letter here for Prospero House. Just something in care of Prospero House for
That's-
a book that Harvard
That's who publishes his books.
That's right. I want to call Prospero House to ask them if he what kind of research that he was up to.
All right. So you're going
editor.
to try to get in
Yeah.
touch with Prospero House.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go to Sing Sing. What's Margaret doing?
Dr. Stu and I were going to head off to Harvard.
You and Alexander
Mhm.
are going to Harvard. What's Mustafa doing?
I'm going to this Importers.
So we're splitting the party. Awesome.
time.
And
Yeah.
Samus?
I'll go to the funeral.
That's
Tomorrow's not
We're
till
all-
tomorrow. This is all the 16th.
Hey, I'm hanging out at my house making calls if you want to hang out.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Also, is this Stumbling Tiger? Is that in New York or is it? Sounds like Shanghai to me.
Let's see the book. It should. It does say Shanghai Fun and Friends, 10 Lantern Street.
Yeah, but that could be little.
Could be little
Chinatown?
like a Chinatown.
It could be, but it's not.
Oh.
Okay.
There is no Lantern
Little-
Street.
Okay. So what the hell does Shanghai have to do with this? Okay.
Demo through the pictures.
Oh yeah.
Shanghai would make sense, too.
Shanghai. Haha, I think we piece it together. Watson, we've done it.
Is it though, or is that London?
No, it's not long.
Definitely not.
Uh,
There's a
look at
lot
the
of
architecture.
longboats, and I'm thinking,
Look at the architecture in the background and the British flag flying.
yeah,
Which
that
could be
a
could
colony.
be Shanghai.
I mean, they took a lot of time to Photoshop that British flag in, so it's definitely.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted you to know that's a British ship,
Mm-hmm.
but those sails look Asian, not.
Have
Europe.
any of you
Yeah.
traveled China?
I've traveled plenty of Europe. That does not look like. a
That
border
is
colony.
not London. You're
Yes,
positive
I
it's
know
not
it's
London.
not London.
That's weird. I just read a book called Empire of the Sun. It was about the British legations
Yep.
in Shanghai.
Well timed, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to start with our phone call. Who are you calling again?
I am calling. I actually wrote the name down, I think. Kensington.
Oh, Kensington House. Joseph Kensington at Prospero House, rather.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The phone rings and rings, and eventually, after about
I'm sorry.
7 rings, you hear somebody grabs it and you hear, "Hello?
Jonas Kensington.
Yeah, it's Jonah. I'm kind of busy right now. Who is this?"
My name is Declan Steele. I am a friend of Jackson Elias.
Oh, yes. Carlton mentioned you. He's going to want to talk to you. Are you going to the funeral tomorrow?
I am.
Good, good. He'll want to catch up with you then. Something about the reading of the will. Your name was on the list. There were actually, I think 6 names. You'll talk to him at the funeral tomorrow. He'll mention the will. You'll need to go over that with him.
Okay. Who's Carlton?
Oh, you don't know Carlton? Carlton Ramsey. He's Jackson's lawyer. He's handling the reading of the will and other assorted issues.
Jonas, I have just a couple quick questions. Sorry,
Jonah.
Jonah.
Yes.
Was Jackson doing any research for a book?
Jackson was always researching a book.
Something recent, like new?
Yes, he was doing that.
What was on what?
Well, he was looking into some matters dealing with the Carlisle exposition. I don't think he was really in his right mind, though.
What makes you say that?
Perhaps after the funeral tomorrow, we can have a chat. Do you have credit rating?
Yes. 3.
Okay. Look, there's some of this is a little sensitive. I'm not sure Jackson is in the best possible mind place, but tell you what, after the funeral tomorrow, we can go. I can bring by some paperwork, and you can take a look at it.
All right, we'll see you then.
Very good. Margaret and Alexander, you wanted to drive to Harvard, or did you want to try calling the library there?
I think we're gonna drive. It's not that far, right?
Well, Harvard's in Boston. You're in New York.
You could train it.
30 minutes. You want to go out there? Let's go out there.
Let's go out there.
Yeah, because we want to research the library a little bit.
Yeah, I would like to see the Harvard
Look at the
Library.
competition.
Yeah, I'd like to see that library.
All right.
Plus, there was a book we're looking for, so we may want to just look around in that library.
All right. What was the name on that?
It's right in this, maybe the bottom letter.
I want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. There are a lot of moving parts
Oh,
going
yeah,
on
jeez.
right now. Yeah, as you guys picked up.
It
really
doesn't
quickly.
Merriam.
There we go.
Art, right.
Right.
Yeah, that seems to be someone who is maybe doing the research for the book, but it doesn't say.
Dr.
Book?
Lemming, African Death Cult, Miriam Atwright. And Hilton
Yeah.
Adams.
Merriam Atwright.
Have I not seen that?
I don't know where I got all that from.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was from here. It just says the book you inquired about is no longer available in our no longer in our collection. Maybe find another volumes. You have to contact me upon arrival, and then I'll assist you. So maybe that's not this.
No, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. See?
It's right at the
From
bottom.
Harvard. That's
Uh-huh.
the person sending it. Miriam Atwright.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have the book he wants, but she has one that's like it.
Yeah, I got that. I thought they were looking for an actual title.
Oh.
Somebody said Dr. Lemming, African Death Cult's Miriam Atwright at some point.
Dr. Lemming was a person whom Lieutenant Poole mentioned.
Okay.
As Dr. Lemming had said that the mark that was carved into all the foreheads, including Jackson's, belonged to an African death cult.
Yeah.
I just mixed those two together.
No, it's
I get
totally
what you're
fair.
saying. I'm like, it's right there, Hugh. How do you not see that?
Yeah. I thought they looked for a title, you know. It's not written, man.
So on this photo here, there's a partial name of the boat.
What is it?
It says DAR. So you can see if that's the Carlisle boat, maybe? The name of the boat that they use to travel around in, I don't know. If this has anything to do with the Carlisle expedition or not, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. It wasn't the boat that this telegram got sent through.
Well, you can see there's 3 letters.
One of the boats was
Without
called
my magnifying glasses, you know.
Shroom. S-C-H-R. Shroom.
It looks like DAR. And then it's
So
covered up
Font-a-Light.
by a sail, you see?
It does say DAR.
Good eye.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you get to Harvard at the
I always
library.
have them.
Come up to the front
magnifying
desk of the
glass.
library. There's
Yeah.
Dr. Stewart,
yeah.
Miskatonic University.
Do you have some
Here's-
identification?
Yeah. Show 'em my whatever.
Library card.
Miriam Atwright? Dr. Atwright? I wanted to. Dr. Atwright?
What's this concerning?
We have a. We were doing some research for a friend of ours.
And do you have an appointment?
I do not.
Well, let me ring her.
However, I do have this special skill for being a professor. It says with the bureaucracy role, as long as your academic credentials are intact, credit rating of 3+. Got that. Using bureaucracy lets you enjoy nearly unrestricted access to closed library stacks, research laboratories, and even many private government archives.
So yeah,
How do I do that?
She
You're
waves
a
you through
bureaucromancer.
to go through anything you want in the
Okay.
library, but she still needs to call and see
Yeah,
if
please do. Yeah.
Dr. Atwright is available.
And I have a lousy flattery, as in none, but I'll tell her what an amazing library this is and what a great job they've done.
Sure, terrific. Dr. Atwright should be back from lunch in about half an hour. Her office is room 213. If you just want to stop up there then, she should be available.
In the meantime, can we look for anything on African death cults?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know your Dewey Decimal System, and you're able to track your way into the African Death Cult section
Okay.
and start going through books there.
We'll just spend a little time skimming through some stuff and look for anything that's.
Yeah.
You didn't find any manuscripts or notebooks? Or?
No, just a bunch of random stuff.
Nothing really jumps out at you when you're looking through
Do you
there.
have a typewriter?
This is just the normal section of the library, too, right?
He did not have a typewriter. Yeah, this is the normal section of the library. The public, well, none of it's publicly accessible, but
Yeah.
the student accessible section of the library.
Well, after a half hour, let's go up.
I say, do you think you can get access to the archives?
Yeah.
Maybe?
That's what it says I can do. Yeah. Do you want to? I mean, let's go talk to her first. She may just walk us down there.
Have we been putzing around for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
You head up, and Dr. Atchright looks to be in her mid-30s. She says, "Oh, what brings you to the library today?"
We are following up on our friend Elias. Did you say that letter?
"Oh, Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
I'd really love to meet that man. I've been fascinated by his writings. How's he doing?"
Fortunately, he passed away yesterday. Yeah, he was a friend, a dear friend of ours. The funeral's tomorrow.
I felt like I knew him after reading all of his books. His insights were fantastic. I was so excited to be working with him. I was very disappointed that we didn't have a copy of Africa's Dark Sects. Yes, I had to pronounce that very carefully. It disappeared from the Whitner Library just a few months ago. And when I say disappeared, it was there 1 minute and gone the next.
Oh, that disappeared.
Yes. It simply vanished. There was, the same day the book went missing, there was this odor in the whole section of the library. It took days to fade.
What did it smell like?
Brimstone.
Fascinating. Now, in your letter, it said that there may be some information in other volumes. Do you have?
Well, we have several volumes concerning tribal religions and mythology. He was a bit vague on what exactly he was looking for. He primarily said he was looking for that specific volume, and we did not have a copy.
Do you know where another copy may exist?
We need a scanner.
We don't probably have one of those at Miskatonic, do we?
No, I don't think so. Miskatonic is a cute little institution,
You're getting
but
all over the
your library's collection is rather limited.
I'm not going to take the bait. Okay.
But if there's anything I can do to help with your investigation, I'd be happy to spend a few hours here and there.
Do you have extra copies of Elias's other books by chance?
Well, virtually any bookshop would, of course we do.
Okay. I'll go to the bookshop and purchase. If there's a bookshop around on the way back, we'll purchase.
Have you been to Boston?
It's been a little while. Yeah, you're right. There are bookstores everywhere. You're right. What do you think, Margaret?
I want to check out the archives.
Could we
What
look
is it? Which section of the archives did you want to see?
African death cults?
Anything that you have on cults or unexplained phenomenon?
Well, unexplained phenomenon is a rather broad area of research. Are you thinking physics?
Yes.
Of course. She's happy to take you to various sections on unexplained phenomena. There's literally thousands of volumes
Anything that stands out to Margaret specifically?
related to what?
That would make me crazy.
Maybe crazy stuff.
Oh, you're looking for Cthulhu Mythos issues. You would need to get access to the restricted
That's
stacks.
what I'm trying to do. That's what I meant by archives.
But you hadn't come out and said it. You
Yeah,
kinda
right,
hinted
right.
to
I
it.
don't
You
know
should
how
not
to say that without
necessarily-
sounding crazy. So
You can't really, but
yeah, right. So
Would it be possible to get access to your restricted?
Well, which portion of the restricted section? You need to be a bit more specific.
I'm specifically looking for death cults, the African death cults.
Well,
The stuff Elias was looking into.
yeah, she's happy to take you to that
Okay.
that section, but that section is not going to be the same as the
Gotcha.
crazy Cthulhu related section.
The goddess name.
Yeah, my guy wouldn't know to ask for that. He's super innocent. I'm still naive. I don't. The murder's the most exciting thing that's probably happened to him since his family died.
oh, jeez, one death after another.
We need
I
to take a
don't
video
have
recording, or oh, we do.
any kind
To
of
play
skill
that
that would let
in
me
the back.
even try to manipulate somebody into that. I don't have flattery. I don't have any ability to try to explain that without sounding nuts.
Sounding
yeah.
blunt. Well, you're welcome to sound nuts if you'd like.
She's not ready to go there.
Okay. All right, so you get a lovely tour of the African death cults section of the library,
Okay.
which is probably a shelf like this. So, you know, there's, I don't know, 20,000 pages?
Trying to ask her if we're looking for stuff specifically for the area that the Aberdeen Forest, the Kikuyu villagers, the Great Rift, that anything that pertains
It's
to
not
that.
my area of expertise.
Is there somebody that knows this?
Jackson.
Jackson would be the first person I would have thought of. Without him, I don't know that we have an expert on campus. Like I said, I'd be happy to go through the literature, though, and see what I can turn up for you.
That'd be
Do you have any other leads? Anything specific I should be looking into?
We're looking basically that, and yeah, just that area.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We'll give the symbol.
Do you have a drawing of it?
Can you draw it?
Oh, I'm sure she can draw it.
All right. I'll look and see what I can turn up for you.
Thank you so
where?
much.
Maybe
How
it's
should
in
I
restricted-
contact you once I find this?
We'll be staying at the Red
We
Hook
haven't gone there.
area, this hotel.
Okay.
If you could send correspondence, I'd appreciate it. Thank you
Certainly.
It's a
so
6-year-old
much.
letter, though.
And if you
It's-
ever
I'll call the
they could
hotel.
still be there.
ever find yourself
Well,
in
his
New England and you-
sister
near Miskatonic, please
Yeah.
come by and I would give you the
might have
utmost. Take you to
information.
dinner.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
One
Thank
of the
you.
things
Thank
I
you
want
for
to do
your
is talk to
hospitality.
his lawyer.
All right. Ding,
Yeah,
ding,
I'll be all there
boom.
tomorrow.
You were sticking around with, okay. Mustafa, you were going off on your own. Awesome.
Dun dun dun.
You were heading to
So there's now a 10th murder.
the import. Emerson Imports, right?
Correct.
All right, so Emerson Imports is on the edge of the Hudson River, just beyond Hell's Kitchen on Manhattan Island.
Watch out for Daredevil.
Yeah. I went there too.
There's a warehouse there, and you can see people loading and unloading crates that go floor to ceiling in the warehouse. But there's a stairs right near the entrance, and you can see there's an office at the top of the stairs. Do you just walk in, or what's your strategy here?
Do I know anything about Emerson Imports?
It does seem like it would be up your alley, doesn't it? Sure. You have heard that Emerson is the U.S. importing agent for the Mobasan exporter Aja Singh.
Is that a company or a man?
That is a person.
Is he,
And Aja is A-H-J-A and Singh S-I-N-G-H. And you recall also that Arthur Emerson is the man who runs Emerson Imports.
do they deal, is it possible that, like I have arranged for some shipping and transshipping of
Well,
stuff
usually
for
you're going to
expeditions and
Miskatonic,
yeah,
but New York is the primary harbor where things are going to go through.
right.
So it's possible that you've used Emerson Imports in the past.
Okay.
It's not unreasonable to think that.
I'm going to ask to see Mr. Emerson.
Oh, certainly. He's right up in his office.
I'm going to go in and hand him my card.
Your card. Ah,
My card.
Mr. Ali, pleasure to meet you. What can I do for you? Arthur Emerson looks to be in his mid-50s. His hairline starts about here. He's kind of heavy set, dressed in a suit with a vest, very, 1920s, kind of dapper, but he does look like he's kind of in a dull sweat. You think he's probably been doing some heavier work than just shuffling papers. What can I do for you, Mr. Ali?
Mr. Emerson, I represent Miskatonic University.
Oh, well,
I'm,
fine institution. Always happy to do business with them.
we are interested in shipping some things to and fro from Egypt this
Of
big
course.
season. I was given your name by my friend, by acquaintance, Silas Nkwane.
Oh, yes, of course. He runs Juju House.
Juju House?
Yes, in Harlem.
Ah!
They're a African import shop. For a wide variety of authentic African artifacts.
I'll walk over and make sure the door is closed. Mr. Emerson, I also deal in antiquities.
Oh, do you?
As kind of a sidelight to my academic endeavors. Not everything that comes through the digs are of interest to the universities and have very, while they may be low in academic value, they are very lucrative for collectors, especially people in London or New York who have more money than
Mr. Ali.
sense.
I am a upstanding businessman. I would never participate in any sort of cut-rate importing.
Of course not. I was not implying that, sir.
Oh,
I go into my billfold and get out another business card with the name of my shop in
okay.
Cairo. Just so you know,
Yes.
sometimes things fall off of boats. Sometimes things fall off of trucks. But I can be contacted, especially if there are any things that might be interesting from the Egyptian region.
I'm not sure what you're hinting at, sir. We are very careful with all of our inventory. Our clients expect us to be.
Was Mr. Carlisle one of your clients?
Mr. Carlisle? No, we didn't deal with the Carlisle expedition.
Did he... I have heard that perhaps he was purchasing things to send back to the States. I did not know if...
It's certainly possible, but I had no dealings with him.
I would think that a reputable firm like yourself would be, a first choice of a Manhattan dilettante.
As much as we appreciate that sentiment, we do far more business with smaller companies doing specialized and repeat business than a one-time expedition.
Do you import from the East or from
We are
Africa
a global
or-
business, though much of our imports do come out of Africa. And Egypt, of course.
Very well. Do you have a shipping schedule? Do you have your own ships?
We book transit on other vessels. We have agents in various locations who handle that, and then we coordinate getting things through customs and out to their destinations.
Do you have an agent in Cairo?
I do, yes.
Could I have his name?
Of course. He rifles through a drawer and passes you a business card.
What about Nairobi?
We have an agent in Kenya,
Same thing.
Aja Singh.
Ah, Aja Singh. I've heard that name before.
Well, you said you were referred by Naquan. He is his only customer in town.
I believe he mentioned that. But I've heard that name before also. I thought he was from the subcontinent, from India.
No. Mavasa.
I was very libidinous and drinking a lot the last time I talked to Nkwame, but he mentioned that I should come talk to you.
Well,
We have similar business interests at times.
are you friends with Naquan?
We are acquaintances.
Does he make your skin crawl?
I have seen many things scarier than him, but yes, I did get that impression.
When a man stopped in the other day and said he had the same reaction to him, there's something about that man which is just off. I don't know what it is. I never make deliveries myself to that location and always send the new hires. Seems to be the test of whether they'll stick around.
That is humorous, sir. I believe that I will, when we are shipping things back from Africa, we will go through you. I think sounds like a great idea. Our previous import-export company is very sketchy. Very sketchy.
Well, I certainly appreciate the business. I'll look forward to hearing from you then.
I will contact your
How do you
agent.
know Naquan?
I met him at a book lecture in Massachusetts.
I'm surprised he... Wow. Very
And
good
then we
then.
had drinks.
All right. Very good then.
Thank you.
Of course.
Have a good day.
You didn't show him the card, did you?
No.
Just want to make sure.
Do you have any dealings in Shanghai? Mr.
No,
Emerson?
not explicitly, not recurringly, no.
We have considered sending things through Shanghai.
Well, I could make a recommendation if you'd like.
Yes.
He rattles off 2 or 3 different names of companies that work there.
Are any of them on Lantern Street?
No.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Have a good day, sir.
And you as well.
I doff my fez.
Okay.
Go like this.
Father, you meet up with the chaplain, and your plans to get into Sing Sing today aren't going to work. The prison is running through a drill today and is not going to be available. Earliest he thinks he can get you in safely will be Monday.
Monday the 19th it is.
Anything else people want to take care of in the short term?
Do we know who Carlisle's attorney was?
You probably don't know offhand, but
Wasn't that one of the people that Richard? No, that was Richard Carter. Jack Brady.
The letter mentions the lawyer, but it doesn't name him.
Is that who Jack Brady is? Or is he a
This
dead?
Yep,
one,
that
right?
letter right
This one
there.
right here.
Jack Brady was another member of the expedition.
Yeah, he was like ex-military security sort of advisor for their expedition.
Margaret has convinced me to go back to the library and ask if we can go in there. They're restricted, looking for an author named Ludwig Prynne.
Ludwig Prynne. Should I know that name?
Are you asking out of
I'm asking out of character if I should know that name.
Yeah, since he's the guy who wrote the translation of Der Vemis Mysterious.
Oh, that book. Sorry. No. Why would we carry that sort of volume here? We are a reputable institution.
I agree.
That man was a lunatic.
I agree.
It was for a research paper we were doing.
We would never allow that sort of insanity to waste space on our shelves here at Harvard.
Fair enough. That's why we don't have it in our library either.
I'm sorry.
Thank you again. I'm sorry to bother you.
Of course.
I'll get out of there.
Anything else?
Sorry, I tried.
There's some. This is Harvard. There's got to be something here.
Well, is there anything you guys want to take care of before the funeral, then, beyond what you have just... Because that's probably filled up your
Yeah.
day on the 17th.
What was that business card? That wasn't the importer, was it?
No, that's the importer. This is a card for the Penhew Foundation, which was
The guy that died on the trip.
that's right.
So he was the other guy that they picked up in London.
Actually, let me see that there for a second.
Well, there's a new director.
Sir Aubrey Penhew was the Egyptologist that got killed in the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
This
the
is
foundation. Yeah.
Edward Gavigan.
And then there's the Carlisle Manor,
The Carlisle Manor. Right.
with his sister is still around.
And
supposedly.
I think I misread this bookmark. Professor Anthony Cowles is a PhD at at Miskatonic.
Yeah.
His research, his lecture was here at New York University.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't piece that together until like just now. So, we can always try to reach out to this professor.
We know him.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know
Of
him.
him, yeah.
You probably have
He's got a hot daughter.
Okay.
That's what everybody
That's
says.
what I must have missed while I was up. Okay. I mean, you can always reach out to him to see if he knows anything.
Are you going to try and do that before the funeral, or can we proceed to the funeral?
It's up to them. I have no contacts at all at this
I'm
time.
definitely-
We could maybe phone. Can we phone Is it late enough in the day that it's too late that he wouldn't be in his office?
Yeah, you can absolutely phone
We'll try
his
to-
office, and
Yeah, I mean,
since you're a
find out.
professor, they'll give you his home.
Yeah. Well, we'll call.
Just to see if he knows or worked with Elias,
Okay.
and if not, maybe inquire about that type of symbol. You know, something maybe he encountered that same type of symbol in doing research on in the Polynesian South and South
Yeah.
Pacific. See if there's some similarity.
Text him a picture.
Yeah, I'll take a I'll send-
1920s text.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry to call you so late. Just ring him up.
Sure. What's Alexander's last name?
Stuart, Dr. Stewart.
Stewart.
Yeah.
Dr. Stewart, what can I do for you?
I'm so sorry to call so late. We saw that you had a show in Schuler Hall in New York University. When was that? Recently? The Cult
Oh.
of Darkness in Polynesia and the Southwest Pacific?
That was last week.
Okay. At 8 o'clock. A friend of ours was...
The 12th.
The 12th? Okay. Had attended your show, and we just had some questions about, and kind of described the picture. There was a symbol that we had, and I apologize for calling you after hours, but I'm currently in New York City, and we're trying to get to the bottom of something. But the symbol, there was a symbol that was about 3 inches across, 1.5 inches wide, circular, oval in length, had 3 dots or 3 lines.
Those are probably more like teeth. We're thinking like an
teeth,
open mouth.
Like an open mouth. Do you know anything that goes along with your Cult of Darkness, with your presentation, that would fit that description?
Cults. I don't know anything of that offhand. My presentation, well, one moment.
From the University of Sydney in Australia.
Cool.
Sorry, Professor, we missed part of that. Could you start again?
Right. Hello, or g'day as we say in my country. I'm Professor Anthony Cowles, guest lecturer from the University of Sydney in Australia. I hope you folks will bear with me tonight. Folks at the uni have asked us to use the ediphone to record tonight's lecture, or next day. Tonight I'd like to, I'll be discussing the Cult of Darkness in Polynesia and the Southwest Pacific. So, to begin, I'd like to start with the Marshall Islands. And could you advance to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So, here we problem with the recorder. It'll just have to try to keep up. So, then, another of the cults in this region is an Aboriginal belief in a god known to them as the Father of all bats. In this primitive form of worship, the believers are thought to have made human sacrifices to their god, and in doing so they became worthy to receive a visitation by the Father of all bats, and once this god was enticed to appear, he would conquer all men. The sacrificial victims were run through a gauntlet of worshippers who struck them repeatedly with a bat. Sorry, I don't mean that kind of bat. I mean a cudgel or a club. And this club was embedded with the sharp teeth of bats. The teeth were coated with a poison, somehow derived from fermented bat droppings. Apparently, victims went mad before they died. It said leaders of the cult could take the form of bat-winged snakes, and this enabled them to steal sacrifices from across the land. Now, my evidence suggests this cult's gone extinct or dormant at any rate, and these rites haven't been practiced for hundreds of years. However, if we look to the southeast, the song cycle mentions a place where enormous beings gathered somewhere in this region of Western Australia. The songs say that these gods were not at all like men, and built great sleeping walls and dug caves, but living winds blew down the gods and overthrew them, destroying their sleeping places. When this happened, the way was open for the Father of all bats, who came overexposed, but in this slide these men are standing near what could be interpreted as a carved stone of megalithic proportions. If you look here and here, you can see markings that could be some kind of decoration. Unfortunately, Mr. McWhirr's party, who found these megaliths, were assaulted shortly after the discovery. Interestingly, the report given by Mr. McWhirr suggested the death of one of his men came from hundreds of small punctures, thus bringing to mind the abandoned practices of the Sandbat cult. Authorities made this with from this region here, near the Arafura Sea in northern Australia. The legend tells of the Father of all bats engaged in a battle of wits with Rainbow Snake, the Aboriginal deification of water and the creator of life. Now, Rainbow Snake is no dummy, and he trapped Sandbat and his clan in the depths of a watery place from which Sandbat can only complain but remains unable to trouble the people. Thank you. Now, before I take your questions, I just want to make sure that we got all that on the recording. Is it all right, Daniel?
Yes, Professor, Oh, wait. Let me check the...
Interns.
Brought to you by Edison Gold Molded Recordings.
So good.
And here is a transcript
I love
of
it.
that lecture.
HP Lovecraft Society.
Right.
Why do you ask about the lecture?
Wish I had that kind of spare time.
Well, our friend was there and then was at the lecture and called us there. I'll explain the whole story. He was brutally murdered by what seems to be a cult killing, and that was carved on his head. Tell him that, you know, his name was Elias.
Oh, I think I've read some of his works.
Yeah, very, very renowned. He was a contemporary, but yeah, he was murdered by somebody that apparently read his books. And
Well, Arthur McWhirr was the one who found those stones that I mentioned in my lecture. I received his diary where he wrote about his findings, but it's back at my apartment in Sydney. David Dodge is a friend of mine who's currently keeping a watch on my things there at my home. If you'd like, I can give you a letter of introduction if you're planning on heading to Australia. I'm sure he would be more than happy to give you the tour and all that.
Oh, man, I did not hear this phone call at all. Do I?
yeah, no, a letter would be. I don't know that we'll get there, but a letter would be fantastic in the off chance that we do.
Write one and drop it off at your office then.
Okay, thank you.
David Dodge.
Okay.
So,
Never had an audio handout. That was fantastic.
Sandbat cult.
He was nice enough to mail us the entire transcript.
Afterwards.
Are you kidding? Margaret was doing a shorthand while it was going on.
Oh no.
God, I know, but I can't metagame.
I mean, I
so
got this, but
it's tough.
the only thing I wanted to know was the region for the Father of all Vats, but it sounds like all of that took place in Australia,
It was all Australia,
which
yes.
is cool.
It's only 20 hours away
Yeah.
by
It's
plane
just another place
today.
for another
So
chapter.
Yeah.
I mean, I got no problem.
3 weeks.
Well, okay. Well, that was taken care of. But that is interesting. Father of Bats, and this could be, represent that the bite marks of a bat.
Good.
I mean, what does
Or
Stuart
maybe
actually relay to everyone? He was
our
the one that
Peru
was on
called
the
that.
belly.
I'll tell everybody as much as I
Dealt with
can.
Oh, his vomit
The
all
Yeah,
over.
vomit it,
imagery
yeah.
marks are still
Including
around.
the audio.
I asked about the.
All the way on
I just didn't
Australia.
know.
Mark.
I hate
Possibilities.
metagaming,
Yeah.
so I want to make sure that.
Right.
I probably would have had the phone out so you guys could hear.
That's
I'm
like
assuming
with
I'm
that
calling
hookup
from your
that you-
house. You know.
Well, according to Jackson's book, though, Samus, that cult was only in Peru and in Bolivia. Was there any kind of conclusion? What I should say, ask this instead. What was the conclusion of Elias's book about our Peru adventure?
That it was all just legends that some rich white folk had created to put themselves in power over the natives.
In all honesty, lad, it could be much like other denominations of the Christian faith.
What actually happened in the Peruvian trip?
You don't want to know.
I'll pull out a bottle of whiskey.
I'm not really much of a
It
drinker.
wasn't the father of all
You will
bats.
be.
No, it was not. It was
It
the
was
father
father
of
of
maggots.
We'll, to summarize, and this is
So
probably
cultists
through
have
long
daddy issues.
talking here. When we went to Peru,
No, they just have different
we
dogs.
found
Yeah.
something completely unexplained. I'll call it a beast of Satan. They'll call it that. Basically, we went to a ancient pyramid and encountered a creature that was using parts of itself to corrupt conquistadors hundreds of years ago who happened to still be alive 4 years ago. Until we were able to destroy them and seal up the pyramid once again.
Well, we sealed. We don't know if we destroyed anything.
We tell you about the gold.
Gold bar.
The gold
that
bar.
was the ward for whatever was inside the pyramid.
Hmm.
And once we
Babe
placed it
Ruth
back,
there, taking out the master.
I have seen
Basically, summarize, really messed up stuff happened. Stuff that you can't explain rationally. And when we talk about it, we're not pulling punches with it. It's
Please don't say Babe Ruth's name around me. I'm still
So
Can I
we
say
also
something?
in
have
mourning since they're selling
Oh,
out.
yeah, they're telling the truth. They're
like
fucking
a
with me.
secret
No,
artifact,
they are not messing with
right?
you.
that was located in Cairo on Jackal Street. That the one guy was trying to get for the other guy.
That's right, and that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Perez Najir,
I
Street
know
of
this.
Jackals.
I know this man.
That's a possible way to
He
go.
is
I mean,
scum.
the Australia thing seems like a detour.
It does. It does.
I don't know.
I'm
Eminently
well
so right now.
acquainted with
A red herring.
Faraz, and he is scum. He's the scum of the desert.
You just spit in my apartment.
I apologize. I'll take my cat and I'll use him.
Out of game terms, though, it introduced us to the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured, but my guy would think you guys maybe shared a hallucination together, like all got stoned or something. Doesn't make any sense. You know, you can't explain that stuff to people that haven't seen it.
Right. It's like trying to explain sex to a virgin.
Right.
It
I
is-
think you're right though. I mean, there could be the thing that we were introduced to in Peru could be a much larger scope, and like as he was saying,
It's different.
it's just a different arm of the cult that uses the same kind of symbology.
An international cult?
Maybe. I don't know enough about cults to know if they have that kind of outreach to that degree.
I would say something about religion as a whole, but the father here, I feel like I'd be disrespectful.
That's true.
Keeper,
Yes.
the we're all relatively familiar with Jackson's books.
Yeah.
Were there any drawings of these gaping maws that somehow?
They did not. No.
And we still have the funeral and the will and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll
And of
also
course,
mention that
if it's the night of the 16th, at least I'm going to have more than a few
I should mention this.
to honor our friend.
I spoke with Jonah Kensington, the publicist for publisher of Elias's work and research, and at the funeral tomorrow, we are supposed to meet a Carlton Ramsey, who is his lawyer, and apparently we are written into Elias's will.
Yes.
So we should have a meeting with the lawyer, and if we can, I think Jonah Kensington had some things to share with us. So maybe after the funeral, we should prepare to go to the office of the name of the company whose name escapes me right now.
Prospero House?
Prospero House, yes.
Okay.
All right. So you guys
If we ever,
have an Irish wake for Jackson that
I will,
evening?
at least.
if you ever go to Cairo, and we look up this Mr. Faraz Najir, he is well known to me. Make sure you bring plenty of flea powder, or the fleas of 1,000 camels will infest your beard
Okay.
or your armpits. Does your character have a beard?
No, my character does not have a beard. Yet.
Grow a beard. Grow a beard, then shave it off before you see this jackal. His address is very unironic.
It is interesting though that
Sorry.
Elias would have that letter with him.
Do you think he was pilfering his mail?
I don't. Who knows?
Mr. Carlisle was a very rich man.
Well, Mr. Carlisle got this. Look at the date. This was
That was from.
before
Yes.
before his thing.
Yes, but how did
Yeah. How did Elias
Jackson
get it?
get this?
Yeah, I don't know. That is a good question.
Dead men tell no tales.
That's why I suggested going to see the guy that had the relic or whatever.
Well, he's in Cairo though.
He is.
Well, we got, as
All
far as I can see, we got
roads.
2 leads here. We have Australia.
Which doesn't seem like the right direction.
Yeah, I agree.
All roads lead to Cairo.
Or Cairo.
As do
Cairo
all
seems like a good
rivers.
place to start because if we're gonna continue on what Elias wanted us to do, then Cairo is a place to start because that's where Carlson started.
And we're probably going to get option 3 tomorrow at the funeral.
That's very possible. We know that Penn U Foundation knows something.
Well, it is possible. It's if we are going to Cairo, we would go through in Portsmouth, England first.
Yep, and we can probably right. Shanghai is an interesting lead. I think we need to know more though before we go.
I'm not familiar with any.
Let's just deal with the funeral first.
Yeah, let's see what.
I'm not familiar
the
with
lawyer
any
is.
death cults he may have been researching. And
I asked
Shanghai.
Kensington
Yeah.
that, and
Cool.
he didn't. He was very reluctant to tell me anything
Put
over
my
the phone.
Put my suit on and get cleaned up for tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to see Mr. Emerson. He is a reputable importer and exporter. I even offered to engage him in a slightly shady business, but not completely shady, and he refused, at least at first. This man who's on the back, his name is Silas Nkwane. He owns a a curio shop called the Juju House in Harlem.
We should go look at that.
It's close.
I am in that business myself, at least tangentially. So, I mean, I would like to go speak with him.
Well, we have a busy day tomorrow then.
I have some things in my possession that I might try and sell this Mr.
I have wares if you have coin.
Nkwane.
She got weird. Nothing from
All right.
video game.
Well, are you heading to the funeral next, or are you heading to Juju House next?
Well, the funeral's at 2 p.m.
Yes,
The next day or today?
the next day, the
Yeah.
17th.
And
Right now,
we were
still
all,
it's still late on the 16th.
Yes.
Yeah, I figured we had a long day of
Yeah.
Of driving all
around,
over the place, and
coming
making
back
phone
from
calls,
Boston and phone
yeah.
calls
And
Yeah.
procuring some whiskey.
yeah.
Like the next day is St. Patrick's Day?
No.
Not in January.
Oh.
For the record,
Well,
it
it's
is
March.
extremely cold
Yeah.
right now.
Okay.
You're in the midst of a cold snap, and New York streets have not been cleared very well. There's 3-4 feet of snow piled up on the edges of the streets, and the sidewalks are a slippery mess.
Well, those are
Streetcars.
pretty early then.
Yeah, so any
Bundle up.
traveling is rough. So heading out to the funeral at the cemetery, the wind is just whipping through the cemetery as you're making your way there.
Get a big hat and some gloves and
Sure.
She's
Coat.
got plenty of hats.
Yeah.
The cemetery has a small
paid attention
chapel.
to anything anybody
I will
said.
leave my cat at the hotel.
Your cat's probably very happy about not being taken out.
He has no hair.
Yeah.
So.
In the New York weather. You guys get to this chapel at the cemetery, and there's a priest up front. There are the 6 of you, and there are 3 other mourners toward the front. One of them introduces himself at Jonah Kensington.
I'm
And goes
Douglas.
around and introduces himself to all of you, and the other, Carlton Ramsey. Jonah's looks to be late 40s, early 50s, Caucasian. Carlton Ramsey is African American, looks to be in his late 40s as well. And then his niece is with him. He introduces her as Willa Sly. Willa looks to be in her late teens, early 20s. For a moment, Jonah says, I have a lot I'd like to go over with you. Can we discuss this after the funeral, after the service is over?
Yes.
You might even want to come down to Prospero House so that we can go through some records. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I think you'd like to see it. You mentioned wanting to know what
Research.
Jackson's been up to recently, and I think it's worth a long, extended conversation somewhere a little more private than this.
Okay.
And Carlton says, Monday the 19th, I've scheduled a reading of Jackson's will. Is that acceptable to all of you?
As long as it's in the evening, yes.
Well, I was planning on the afternoon, 3 o'clock.
I can try and make it work.
All right. If that's not convenient, I
I'm going to Cincy.
have request. What did you do, Father?
I'm visiting a prisoner there.
Oh, thank goodness. I was afraid you were planning a protracted stay. No, I think you all would like to be present for the reading of the will, as, well, the 6 of you are the only people explicitly mentioned in it.
Okay.
Sounds a little odd.
Jackson had his proclivities.
That's fair.
Service begins after that brief discussion. The priest goes through a basic, the minister goes through a basic non-denominational service. Those of you who were his friends, would any of you like to come up and say a few words about moments in passing that you had in Jackson's company?
Yeah. I'm good at it. I'll give a pleasant speech about his demeanor and whatnot, and ended with Irish blessing.
All right, very good.
Talk about how you would come to the library and enjoyed books together, and he was a good friend.
Anyone else? Jonah gets up and says, Jackson was a master writer, and I never knew quite what I was going to get from him. He'd never present a book until he had it completely written and ready to hand off to a final edit. So I never knew when something would be ready for publication, or really when it would be coming, or what topic it might even cover. I just get vague notions from him that, he was going to write about another death cult where he'd found in South America or Eastern Europe, or who knows where he'd be traveling to next. And then the book would appear as if by magic in its nearly complete form. Quite the character to work with. Anyone else? Through the course of the service, you notice a couple more people come in at the back of the room. Keep a respectful distance throughout the service, but do seem to be watching very intently, and you can't help but notice that they're actually paying a bit of attention to each of you as well.
Are they African American?
They are not.
Whatever.
They are Caucasian. One man and one woman. And it's actually fairly obvious. They're both wearing hats that have a press insert in the column.
Fake news.
The service is generally peaceful, and you're able to go out. And rather than interring the coffin in the ground, they put it into a holding mausoleum temporarily because the ground is simply too hard to try to dig up right now.
Mm-hmm.
It being
January and cold snaps and
yeah. But one of the reporters comes up to you shortly after the service is completed. Excuse me, were you all friends of Jackson?
Oh, we were.
My name's Rebecca Schoenberg. I'm with the New York Times. I was just wondering, do you know much about how he died?
Last. Might be a better time to talk about these things. Maybe after the body is partly put in the ground.
Well, I respect that. I understand he was a friend, but if you know anything, she hands you a business card. I'd very much appreciate it if you could stop down by my office. I suspect that an innocent man's life may hang in the balance. That there may be more to the way Mr. Elias passed, and that Hilton Adams, well,
Take her with
he's
you.
on death row, and I fear that
Hilton Adams is his name?
if
Yeah.
That's who I'm
something
going to see on Monday.
if something could be proven, if you have some evidence, perhaps another hearing would take place.
What do you know about the other murders that have happened that were similar?
Well, I've been reporting on them for the Times, and been following Hilton's case very closely. If you have any interest in it, I'd love you to come down to the newspaper offices, West 43rd. We can go over all the information that I have. I could even get you an opportunity to meet with Hilton's wife, to go over what information she has, or perhaps you'd even be interested in talking with his friends, or even visiting him at Sing Sing.
I was going to be seeing him on Monday.
Oh, well, then perhaps we could meet to go over the details I have before that meeting?
It'd have to be early.
Of course. When are you free?
Did the lawyer say what time he was going to be reading the will?
Said the afternoon.
You said 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And you have to go to Sing Sing before that.
Right.
You got a busy day on Monday. What day is it now?
You could delay your trip to Sing Sing.
Yeah.
You don't have to go on Monday.
What day is it now?
When is he supposed to be
Saturday.
executed?
Today is Saturday.
The execution is 2 weeks away.
Oh, yeah. So
So
he's got.
So tomorrow, there's time.
That's Sunday.
Yeah, tomorrow Sunday.
He's a priest. They don't do any work on Sundays. Actually, that's where they do most of their work.
Most of
on
my work
Sundays.
is done on Sundays, but
Yeah, but you're not in Cleveland.
I'll tell you what. Tomorrow,
All right. Very good. What time is good for you?
I'm an early riser.
How early is early?
I'm up at the dawn, lass.
Well, the press never sleeps.
I'll meet you at your office at 6 a.m.
Very good. I'll see you then.
Do you mind if we come with you?
as many of you as would like to join, I'd love to have you.
I think Cutter's it.
I think it's a good idea for us to all go.
Okay.
That really any of that hurt. Well, here's the thing. Are we going to chase down who murdered Elias? Or...
Are we going to try to save some prisoner?
The two go hand in hand.
Yeah, they're connected. The people that killed Elias are the same people that the prisoner's getting framed for.
Or-
assuming that
or
he's
is involved with.
Or is involved with.
Yes, one of the two.
Or are we going to go find out what happened in the Carlisle?
Right now, I'm more interested in what happened to my friend.
Yeah, the Carlisle thing is.
Yeah,
That's
what's
part
our
of it,
friend.
but this is right here and right now.
That's sort of what brought us all together, but we have more pressing things to do right now. That is to figure out who killed.
Yeah. We can't go hopping off to Cairo. By the time we get back, he will be electrocuted.
Yeah.
So, after that, so you've made arrangements to meet with the reporter tomorrow morning then?
Yes.
And after the funeral, I think you were heading to Prospero House?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's on Lexington Avenue, right near 35th Street. And Jonah's unlocking the door to let you in.
Right. When you get a chance, it's not urgent.
No luck.
Okay.
So don't bother spending that. But excellent idea. Unfortunately, no such luck. So, do you know anything about what Jackson was currently working on?
No,
I don't think it's hard to assume that whatever he was working on is what got him killed.
that's what we assume. Yeah.
I suspect you're right. I have his correspondence file here. Here.
If you look at all of his books are death cults from different. And he got killed by a death cult, so, like. Kind of makes sense.
Well, he could have made a cult mad in the past. It might not necessarily be the one he's currently working with.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
And we've seen a symbol like this. We've seen this symbol before, so I mean, maybe it is an extension of this Peruvian cult.
Yeah, he hasn't written a book on a Peruvian one yet.
Yeah, he did, his last one.
Oh, the last one.
Our
That's right.
adventures.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you want to know what happened in Peru, read the book.
Oh, yeah, I read the book, yeah.
We could all
There's
autograph a copy
possibly
for you.
that-
Also.
Possibility.
Possibility that something all of the members of the...
Not all of them.
Yeah, okay, then not all...
So I'm just going to read this out.
Yeah.
Dear Jonah, big news.
Dear who?
What's
Jonah.
Read the date on that.
August 8th, 1924. This is from the Hampton House Hotel. Well, the stationery is Hampton House Hotel, Nairobi, Kenya. Reggie Baines, proprietor. It says, Dear... It says Jonah. Jonah.
Yeah.
Dear Jonah, big news. There is a possibility that not all of the members of the Carlisle expedition died. I have a lead. Though the authorities here deny the cult angle, sorry, it's handwriting.
Yeah.
The natives sing a different tune. You wouldn't believe the stories. Some juicy...
I'm trying. Notes.
Notes coming your way. This one may make us all rich. Blood and kisses. J.
I received some notes from him just a few days later.
Alright, so this is author submission summary. August 8th, 24. Alright, submission title. Untitled. Notes regarding African death cult sent from Nairobi, Kenya. Description. Notes were received in 8 separate groupings. Set 1. 4 pp. I don't know what that means, but... Documents...
4 pages.
Oh, 4 pages. That makes sense. Documents, meetings taken by Jackson with various officials in Kenyan government, judiciary, and tribal leaders. Jackson met with Cordron, Kenya's colonial undersecretary for internal affairs. No new or relevant information provided. Jackson clearly dissatisfied with official version documenting the massacre of the Carlisle's expedition. Nothing conclusive. Jackson states intent to meet with tribal leaders from Kikuyu, Maasai, and Nandi tribes. Embu, Muru, Mberi, these are all question marks. This section unclear.
Just tribe names.
Tribe names, yeah. 6 pages in set 2. Describes his journey to site of Carlisle massacre. Location described in very vague terms, as if he doesn't want anyone reading notes to easily find it. Jackson very struck by fact that the site of massacre is entirely barren, nothing alive. Tribesmen who led him there claim the place is cursed by the god of the black wind, whose home is a nearby mountaintop. Site would seem to be in the Adaber region. Set 3, 17 pages. Jackson met with Kenyan nationalist, or revolutionary, Johnston Kenyatta. According to Kenyatta, Carlisle murders may have been carried out by a cult, the Bloody Tongue. Kenyatta says cult is reportedly based in Mountain and that High Priest is part of the Mountain of Black Wind. Jackson expresses skepticism. Kenyatta goes on to say the local tribes fear and hate the Bloody Tongue. Their tribal magic provides no protection against the cult. Kenyatta also asserts this cult's god is not of Africa. Jackson of opinion that Kenyatta is a reasonable man whose political ambitions are far less dangerous than the ambitions of the Bloody Tongue. And then the last set, nope, not the last set, the next set. These notes appear to be follow-up to Kenyatta interview. Neither set is dated individually. Jackson asserts his sources, good ones, assert that the Bloody Tongue really exists. No first-hand evidence. One source told of children stolen for sacrifice and creatures with great wings coming down from the mountain of black wind to carry people off. Jackson notes that God of this cult does not appear in documented folklore and does not cleave to patterns traditional to African cults. Jackson notes having questioned Sam Mariga railway station, Neville German, Dr. Starlett, Lieutenant Selkirk, and Captain Edicott as persons questioned, but provides no details from information provided by any of them. Additional notes are missing. Next set consists of a single sheet of paper, apparently a reminder for Jackson to look at the Cairo portion of the Carlisle expedition's itinerary. Suggest Kenya activities only make sense when understood through Egypt. Impetus for Carlisle's Kenyan side trip is on the Nile. Set 6. Record of long interview conducted with Lieutenant Mark Selwick of King's African Rifles. Selwick was leader of the men who found the remains of the Carlisle expedition. Jackson struck a fact that the bodies were remarkably undecayed for the length of time they were animals. When pressed as to what kind of animals systematically pull apart their prey, Selwick could offer no conjecture. Unimaginable, inexplicable. Selwick equivocated about role of Nandi tribesmen in alleged murder of expedition. Might have had something to do with it, maybe. Gave impression charges of political insurrection against ringleaders were trumped up. Hardly the first time that's happened. Jackson, very interested in fact that Selwick couldn't confirm whether any Caucasians were clearly part of the remains discovered by his team, contradicts a statement given at inquest. The next set. Single sheet description of conversation with Nails Nelson at the Victoria Bar in Nairobi. Nelson was mercenary for the Italians on the Somalia-Abyssinian border. Double-crossed employers and escaped into Kenya. Says he saw Jack Brady alive in Hong Kong around 1922. Long after court declared Brady and rest of expedition dead. Certain it was Jack Brady, Nelson claims he was friendly but not eager to say too much.
Where was Jack Brady seen?
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Which that could also be a picture of Hong Kong and not Singapore.
Yeah.
Or Shanghai.
Jackson asserts
That's
that
fine.
Carlisle expedition is probably alive, at least its
Close.
principal members. Set 8, vague. Contemplation of structure of book. Tell what happened, explain why, how they did, a greater purpose, end game. Jackson's failure to elaborate renders this section all but useless.
After those notes, I didn't hear much from him till the middle of last month.
I did have a question about this one. The J, who did this come from?
Jackson.
That came from Jackson.
That's his
Okay.
hand.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
That is his handwriting. When I heard from him, the telegram wasn't like him. It was crazy. He said he'd been in London for a few days and dug up all kinds of stuff. Said he'd seen things that just were impossible to believe, and that there was some kind of crazy conspiracy, not just a death cult thing, but something of monstrous global proportions. It didn't sound like him. And he said there was some timetable for this conspiracy, that they had some kind of plans already in motion. He wanted to go to Australia. I don't know why, but something to do with it. And he refused to explain any more. At the end of the wire, he said he'd be in New York soon. And I can only assume that's when he got on the foul rope.
Out of character for a second. So, he was saying that this cult that was in Nairobi doesn't have any African tones to it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's probably imported in. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing if you find monolithic stuff, that's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But that picture, we're going to assume that picture was from something in Australia.
That, you're
Yeah,
not
it
just
is.
assuming it, that was
Okay.
all.
It's
So-
part of the slideshow.
Okay.
So you
Gotcha.
have this Australian cult of bats. And then these people talking about creatures coming off the Black Wind Mountain, picking people up.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like they fly. So,
Or it's a metaphor.
And that's in Kenya.
Yeah. Nairobi.
I doubt it's metaphor. It's-
When Elias got into town, he dropped off some other notes with me too, but I think he needed to spend some time in the sanitarium. Something that just put him off. The notes don't make any sense at all.
Do you still have them?
Do you want to spend a point of reassurance?
Yeah, I'll do that.
What about intimidation?
He's having a bad day.
Do, but I feel
The
like it'd
only
be an
author he
embarrassment
has that's ever sold a book is
to Jackson if they were to ever get out. You won't share them with anyone else.
No.
No,
of course not.
We're talking about a dear friend here.
Here.
I
Alright.
really want to put this on a book
Yeah.
and go dart it. And on the HP Lovecraft Society website, you can print out library card or a pocket from the library at Miskatonic
That would be awesome.
University.
Yeah.
Well, we need to make that happen. I'll work on it.
All
That's
right.
pretty slick.
I don't have any more bro darts though.
like a Miskatonic library card.
Yeah.
Well, it's
The little paper in the back that you put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You want to share that?
I'm trying. Okay. Again, it's in
It's a
handwriting, so it's a
challenge.
little tough.
Yeah.
So this one's from the Metropole Hotel in London. It's dated the 16th of December, 1924. It says, many nuances, many...
Many names, I
Oh,
think?
names? Alright. Yeah, many names, many...
Forms?
That's an O. Okay, so many forms, but all the same and toward one end. Like a collection of washes. What face is the real one? Is there a real one? What's underneath? Need help? Contact everyone in New York. They're everywhere. More people on our side. No cops, though. They've got men on the inside. They are the inside everywhere I've been. Military, Probably same thing. So much power at stake. Lurking inside like a cancer. The librarian always has the answer if they don't gut her like a fish. Too big, too ghastly. These dreams, like Carlisle's, he's gotten inside my head, in my head.
My head.
Oh, my head. Crazy. Call
Head shrinker.
and check that
There's
Psychoanalyst
psychoanalyst
files. What if we are the source?
Am I becoming him?
Am I being okay? Can't be. All of them survived. They'll open the gate. Why? What's in it for them? Do they think they're doing something else? The Great Deceiver. The power and the danger is real. Who is really evil here? All of them. Some of them, pawns. Who is the Grand Master? Pawn sacrifice is safest.
More.
That's an M? Okay. More direct attack against the Black King would be insane. Ha! As if there would, as if that would stop whomever.
Mm-hmm.
Impossible to play to a draw. Then he has
Some weird diagram.
like a squares with different symbols on it. Many threads.
Any of those symbols look familiar?
Oh yeah.
I want my character to see.
Many threads beginning unraveled. The books are in Carlisle's safe. Did he use them? He must have known coming for me. Will the ocean protect? I think that's the word.
Yeah, that looks right.
Fat chance. They're at work everywhere. Is that a G there or okay?
Ben, maybe?
I've been.
Ben. Surely?
Yeah.
They're in New York too. Immigrants, Chinatown, Harlem,
Bronx.
Bronx,
That sounds like Lovecraft.
out to get me and bring their secret and bury their secret. Need allies. Engaging
everyone, yeah.
engaging everyone. Haha, no quitters
Quitters.
now. Far too late for that. Should have quit long ago. Fool's crusade. Shine a light into the dark. Must tell and make readers believe. Should I scream for them? Should I scream for them? Let's scream together. There you go. There's some else and stuff.
Sounds insane.
No. Sounds like he's putting a lot of thoughts on a piece of paper at one time.
Where did that come out of?
London.
That's his own hand.
And that was
In
just
December.
days.
December 24th, Christmas Eve.
So at least what I get from that is that he had stumbled on something, obviously, and he is definitely frightened by it, and they're after him, and he needs to get away, so we thought maybe coming to the States again.
He'd be safe.
Well, at least finding us, he'd be safer, if not safe.
So he went and investigated the Carlisle massacre, ran away, found all sorts of stuff, ran away, went to London, picked up a bunch more stuff, came here.
Seems like there's a lot of threads going.
I think he may have traveled other places as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like he went to
Hong Kong, right?
Sydney,
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
He went to
Sydney,
Hong Kong,
Hong
like in those
Kong,
notes there, it
Nairobi.
said
I
he
don't think he
talked
had
to a
made it to
mercenary.
Sydney.
Okay.
And then he
I think
said
he
that
intended to go to Sydney.
everybody survived, not just one person, right?
Yeah, that's what he
Seems to
assumed.
think that.
Yeah, because he said the bodies didn't look Caucasian, that were torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
So they could all still be there.
And there was somewhere in one of these letters, someone said they seen one of the members in Hong Kong.
Playing ping pong. Ding dong.
But there is something interesting in this scribble that Carlisle has the books in his safe.
Right.
This was
Which books?
Yeah, and which Carlisle?
There's two of them. You're right.
There's the sister and
Well,
Trying to
I
track
mean,
the sister.
she's the only one left alive.
well, and his lawyer.
No, his sister's alive.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but
Oh, I thought you said there's no one left
No,
alive.
their
the
sister
only
is
one
alive. It's the only one left alive.
Well, maybe not. Maybe he's alive too.
I doubt that.
But the sister would have access to the safe.
But why would she give us access to the safe?
Well, I mean, someone that give her
I
hope
mean-
that to find out that her brother might still be alive might be enough.
You know,
We could give
we're
ourselves
Is she-
really get a reassurance.
is she? Is
I'm a charming young man.
he's already been declared dead?
Mhm.
So she has all the money.
Yeah, but she loves her brother.
She
It's
was
not
looking
like,
for
How do
him.
you
Yeah.
know she loves her brother?
because she went out of her way
To set up
find
another
him.
expedition to find him.
Did she go set out another expedition to find him,
Mhm.
or to find out for sure that he was dead and have him declared
I see
legally
where,
dead?
I see where you're going.
Because if he's missing, she
Are you
has
guys
to wait.
having this conversation in front of Jonah?
Well, he's a
I
lawyer.
didn't even
He
think
would
about
have,
No, he's
that.
the
Jeez.
publisher.
or the publisher. Yeah, he just like,
That's why I asked if you're having this conversation in
Right.
front of him.
yeah.
I assume since we didn't say we weren't, then yeah.
Okay.
Does Margaret recognize any of this at all?
Well, that's, I believe there's a symbol on there that looks real relevant to the symbol you guys have seen tonight.
Can I see that?
I mean,
It's
anything
right.
else from my research?
No.
Far left there, I think, right?
Can I take a look at it?
Oh, sure.
Look,
No, don't hand it over to him.
Huh.
that far left symbol might be. the one
Yeah,
that
but
was
I
carved.
mean,
Yeah.
Tic tac toe.
that's what I was thinking. Does that symbol correspond to any sort of hieroglyphics that I might have seen?
It does not, but it does look very much like the one that's carved into Jackson's forehead. Yes.
Yes, it does.
How about the scratched out words? Like he was going to write something and then he crossed them out.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Well, what's for sure is he stumbled onto something a lot bigger than what I think he was intending.
It's like Amway with a death cult.
See, you're just better off not knowing.
Do you have any other questions for Jonah?
What was in the will? Oh, we're gonna
That's
find that out.
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It's scratched out, says none of them, and then it says
Can I have your card, Jonah?
Of course.
It is possible, when this is over, we could finish his work. He was a dear friend,
I would be more than happy to
even though
publish
he
it.
nearly
though
got us murdered.
His
several
notes are
times.
usually in a more cohesive state than these.
We'll collect our own notes, and then perhaps then we can finish.
Are any of you accomplished writers?
Sure. We're all college professors, so I assume that we're.
doctors and-
Yeah, I mean, even our hobo is brilliant.
Isn't
Very
it
good
still
then.
Saturday?
It is
So the will is dealt with on Monday.
correct.
So we still have all of Sunday.
Well, Sunday morning you guys are scheduled to meet
New York
the
Times.
New York Times.
with the New York Times.
journalist. Yeah.
And Belgian waffles.
I doubt they serve those at the Times offices, but maybe. I don't know what the cafeteria is like.
The note reminds me of many of notes that I've read before men went over the top. Quickly scribbled out, trying to get the most important thoughts, last
It
thoughts to their
seemed
loved
he
ones.
he may have discovered that sometimes even paranoids have enemies.
Is it really paranoia if they are out to get you?
Right, because obviously it came true. The machete wielding cultists who killed him
Carved in his head.
were not a figment of his imagination.
Yeah.
Or if they were a shared hallucination.
Yes.
All right, we are about at time tonight. I don't think we have time to delve into another scene. Did you have any other questions for Jonah before we move on then? All right, you guys
An
have
address, actually.
an address for what?
Jackson.
Jackson didn't have any consistent address. He'd like to stay at Chelsea House when he was in New York, though.
So,
Or Hotel Chelsea, rather.
Okay. Did he have any like a P.O. box or any kind of his own like a safe?
All too often, he'd just send things here to
Okay.
Prospero House and have me hold them for him.
Okay. And this is it then? All these notes, and this is
Yeah,
pretty much every.
this is current correspondence.
Okay.
if you would like, Dr. Stewart here might be able to help you collect his notes, and maybe you could donate them to the library at Miskatonic University.
I'd be very happy to do so.
Certainly, if you think that the library would be willing to archive them,
Yeah.
that seems an
personally.
appropriate use, but after we publish whatever can be made out of these.
Of course.
All right, I think we'll stop there for tonight then, folks. I think you have a lot more questions than answers on hand at the moment.
Yeah.
And then next week we'll pick up with our visit to the New York Times. Thanks, folks.
All right.
Thank you to everyone watching.